Assalamu alaikum everyone. Welcome to our channel. The date is the 8th of February 2026. Today will be a monthly Q&A. Before I go into that, just a couple of words. First, to address the elephant in the room. You may or may not be aware, our channel has been taken down. So this is our previous channel for study circles of Dr. Masari. Hence, we are on this new temporary stopgap channel. But don't get too attached to this channel. You never know. It could go as well. So that's the elephant in the room. I mean, on a personal note, I and others have uploaded upwards of 1,000 videos on the channel. Our OCD is particularly hurt because we got to 8,995 subscribers. So just short of 9,000. Google, what's up with you, man? Couldn't wait just a couple more. But anyways, it doesn't matter. Those were private, public shorts. Everything was stored up as well. But it shows you that it doesn't matter because our purpose is ultimately we're all doing this for the sake of Allah. So you think that things can be lost. It doesn't matter. I mean, because I'd say, with all honesty, we haven't skipped a beat because our enthusiasm isn't based on results. It's on the fact that we believe in our cause. And it's every single thing is an uphill struggle. We have it easy. I mean, I know, for example, with the Sheikh, the amount of events that have happened when he used to have a radio broadcast system, and then there was before that was fax. So uphill graft, all kinds of things you can imagine. Things are much easier now. So this minor mishap is in the scheme of things insignificant, and not even it doesn't even factor into inconvenience. So if anyone wants to gloat, our enemies of those people, the kind of people who show up on the Epstein list, who would be enemies, if they gloat, just we haven't even stopped a second. It hasn't even given us pause for thought, because if anything, there is a positive in this, which is to regroup and to be more structured, more organized. Well, I will say to our audience, if you go to my local high street, you'll have a series of pound stores, 99p stores, and probably less than that. Under-resourced, very lackluster. I want you to imagine that's the kind of resources we have. So if you're expecting caviar and quail's eggs as far as presentation is concerned, I'm sorry, you're going to be disappointed. We will continue to be of that kind of bargain basement ilk. And we make no apologies for that, because the truth doesn't cease to be the truth based on its packaging. The truth remains the truth based on the strength and merits of its arguments. So, in spite of all the odds, clear algorithm suppression, clear people not touching us like we're actually on the Epstein list is ironically, it's the level of people who do not associate with us publicly because of our clear stances and the lack of platforming. I say that it's been quite a reasonable achievement to get our voice out as far as it has been. And I always say, I always quote Andor, which is we have friends everywhere. It's true. We have people behind the scenes who do know us and do actually call the Sheikh, for example. And other more prominent channels, we've seen a conspicuous uptake in discussing certain issues like rulership and shura. And ultimately, that's what our core principles of this. This is what makes us unique. It is the idea of bringing shura back to the people and going back to Kitab and Sunnah anew. And we back that up with content I don't think you can find anywhere else. If you do find it, tell us. So we'll more than happily promote it and adopt anything. But this level of detail I haven't seen anywhere else. And what you see presented is also just the tip of the iceberg, because the written material is more profound, more rigid. And you can't necessarily easily read that out because people will go to sleep. And those of you who've attended our Tawheed halakas would get an appreciation of the discussion that happens around every counter counterpoint of view and dissection. And hopefully, when we finish our Tawheed halakas, that's just the beginning. We'll go on to our individual publications. And right now, we have the slowest translation translate in the world, translating a piece of work. And that's called Counting the Rulers. So that will be also very profound, very deep, very structured. So this is what we're about. We aren't fixated on filters and presentation. We are fixated on just getting the information out. Everything is open source. I'm a volunteer. All the brothers in the UK are volunteers with and you know, brothers are busy. So with what little we have, we offer it to you on a platter for you to use. And one thing that's very, very important is as activists, and we consider yourselves as activists, because what we teach isn't your run-of-the-mill, easy, happy-go-lucky, have a nice day, a bit of motivation, and then just everything's fine. Your life doesn't need to be disrupted. No, that's not what we're about. We're about building fundamental concepts. You can't be passive in this role. You need to be more active. Just as we're going to be giving you a diamond which has just been brought out of the ground, uncut, raw. You're going to have to do the processing. You're going to have to be doing the dissemination. We will make everything open source. So I will personally be constructing a number of backup channels. Public channel would be this one as a burnout. I have no problem if, as I'm speaking, YouTube pulls the plug. I'll start again on another channel. And we also have legacy stuff on an Odyssey, which is in the description. And we also have a Rumble. So I'll likely be putting all Palestine updates onto the Rumble. You're going to have to do a bit of work, which is you may not find everything in one place. It may not be the best of presentations, but you're going to have to do the work. Also, I strongly recommend you all to join the public Telegram group, if for just the simple reason of getting updates, or subscribe to Dr. Masari's X channel, or you can also go to Upscrolled and follow me, Rashid Rants. I'm completely unfiltered there. So it's all about, so at least you can get access to what we have. In addition, there'll be future material. We have a number of halakas from the past. So you may have seen Hadith series. We also have Usul al-Fiqh series as well. And interestingly enough, the Usul al-Fiqh series was evolving as we went. The professor would revise points of view because ultimately that's what a scholar does. If something new comes up, you analyze and adopt as need be. So that's all to come as well, inshallah. Obviously, limited resources, so you have to bear with us. If you all are, if you want to be, as I call the WLB, which is the whiny little bitch, as I call many people, which is just complain. This is not the place for you to just complain without taking any kind of responsibility of your own. We are talking about, it's like coming up to a person with one leg and expecting them to walk. We have very limited resources. We do the best we can, and we will make judgment calls as to what's the highest priority. So it's on you when we publish our material. We'll be putting things into the Telegram channel as well, probably in raw format. Take it, put it on your TikToks, put it on your upscrolls, do whatever the hell you want. There is nothing. I could die tomorrow, anonymous in an unmarked grave. I wouldn't give a hoot, because for me, the only thing that matters is the ideas that live on. Attributed to no one, attributed to yourselves, we don't care. These ideas are all that matters. So nothing stops. The revolution will not die, it will multiply. Okay, now, before I continue, I have a more directed rant to ZiaTube. Okay, so our channel's been taken down by ZiaTube. The cabal of tech bros, a cabal of degenerates, of which founders of Google are just one component, have been exposed by the Epstein list. Every kind of debauchery, disgusting trait and activity has been laid bare. Yet they have stricken our channel for being extreme in content and violent. I ask, what do baby dismemberers have to define what is extreme and violent? Really, it's because of our pro-Palestine message and uncompromising stance. That's the issue here. So we will not be taking any kind of moral lesson from these degenerates. So you know who you are. Come at us. It don't matter. We'll start again. And when you stop that, we'll start again. And when you stop that, we'll start again. We'll snatch the taste from your mouth. You support the IDF through Daddy's Home. Palantir, all these scumbags who are part of this tech bro degenerate crowd. You suppress the genocide with algo suppression. You are evil, Zion Nazi, fascist, Baal worshipping, rapist, pedo, narcissist. You really think you can dictate to us? You sure about that? As Muslims, we have been the underdog for centuries. The West has applied tyrants over us, restricted us in any and every capacity. Algorithm suppression is just one new iteration of that. Upscrolled is a minor blessing. You never know if it goes the same way. People will start another thing. When there is an open field for discussion, you lose, and the masses are educated. You have lost the political and the ideological battle regarding the Nazi entity. You have to undermine your own publicly professed ideals to try and combat the truth coming out. This is what you're about. You have nothing. And now you stand at the precipice of the decline of the Western Empire, where Trump, in the death throes of a dying empire, has become more belligerent, like Caesar on acid and dementia. We already see what is hidden. It's all been made public. So no matter what you throw at us, we will be resilient. We will adapt. You cannot stop us. You will not suppress the voice. If you close all channels, we'll be coming through the toaster. The revolution will never die. It will just multiply. No apologies, no retraction. The date is, I'll go off camera now. So just one moment. In fact, I might stay on camera actually, because I think there's not many people in the chat. So at least we both are here. I'll see if I can spotlight you. Just a second. Actually, I can't even spotlight. Okay. So the date is the 8th of February, 2026. This is our 26th Palestine update. Sorry, this is our 26th monthly Q&A. We'll start with a Palestine update, which will be our 96th Palestine update, where the professor will discuss issues related to Palestine. It doesn't need to be long. And then we will commence with the Q&A. And then next week, we'll continue as normal with our tafsir, because nothing stops. It continues. So, Professor, over to you with the date, 8th of February, 2026. This is our 96th Palestine update. Over to you, Professor.
Yeah, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Yes, really, this very much concerning Palestine directly. It's not very much to be updated. Genocide on slow motion is continuing. It may have slightly increased last week a little bit, but it is continuing. Every day, Trump's Peace Council is becoming a mockery of itself, becoming like a clown show, and stressed by American analysts, European analysts, and so on. All agree this is just a clown show. Doesn't make any sense. Nobody is clear what will develop, but the Israelis are very clear. They will use that as much as possible to eliminate the Palestinian people completely. And they seem to be focusing now essentially on the West Bank, because their action in the West Bank is more ferocious. The number of killed is maybe small, but the way they are cutting it in pieces, kicking people out who have been complacent and narcotized by this criminal Abbas and so on, now they are paying the price for their complacency and submission to Abbas and not joining their brothers in Gaza and Hamas with struggle. Now this is the time to pay the price, unfortunately, but there's no free lunch. The situation in Lebanon is the same. They are increased their attacks and etc. But Hezbollah is obviously, according to all the information we have, has recovered considerably from what has happened and has integrated itself with Hamas in Lebanon, or the Palestinians generally, Hamas specifically, much better than before. And I think their leadership have now become aware that they cannot rely on Iran or trust Iran to take the lead. And I hope that they have recognized that they failed to do the most important step, that to carry the battle into Haifa and Tel Aviv in the streets. They missed that. most likely under the pressure of the advice, which is the same because Hezbollah is not a state. It depends considerably on the Iranian support. All this is grow locally in the initial growth and establishment. Iran did not play any role, but they grew there, and then from the beginning, with the Iranian revolution, they regard themselves as following Iran, giving bay'ah and so on, because they belong to the Ja'fari Ithna Ashari madhab, and they thought the leaders of Iran or the supreme leader of the revolution is their leader and their marja, and they still do. But I think what happened in the last couple of years have hopefully educated them, and they are graduating out of this slumber. But obviously, the strike, which has happened in late 2024, in September, the pager strike, did do considerable decapitation and confusion and etc. And until you correct that and gain the stability and stand in your feet, it takes some time. And the initiative is taken from your hand. It's very difficult to regain the initiative again. That's considered Hezbollah. Yemen is obviously watching. I mean, Ansarullah, assessing the situation, watching carefully, and accumulating, because it seems to be they have the capacity to produce almost every day or every other day one of the missiles. I think they are doing that. So they have accumulated now how many days we have now since the whole ceasefire. Maybe how many? I don't remember how many days, but they must have in reserve 100 plus of missiles, which is good in the case of any confrontation if it's used wisely and properly. And they think, someone commented in the Enterprise that the Masali thinks that Yemen has recognized these things and they are aware about that. But he quoted Bakhiti, who he claims to be the de facto spokesperson of Ansarullah. Actually, Bakhiti was in Twitter for a long time. He's not an official spokesman. And the brother who is following him and see how he defends Iran and so on, that may be his point of view, might be just tactical. Because the most crucial point, which I concluded that, is that when I made a comment about that nobody should trust Iran, either there's some betrayal or some misjudgment about what the situation in Syria, he commented the same way like the brother noticed. But then few hours later, or 1 or 2 days later, it was the tweet was removed, obviously from higher instances. He ordered remove that. Masadi is essentially right, and we have from background information. So I'm sure Ansarullah have recognized that they cannot rely on Iran, and except Bakhiti, nobody is really mentioning neither Syria nor Iran. If they mention a place fighting and so on, they mention Lebanon, South Lebanon, and Palestine. So I believe that what the brother wrote, I think it's a couple of weeks ago, is based on a very narrow point of view, watching one person and regarding him as the spokesman, really. And you should not forget that Ansarullah, until now, although they have control the state and they're essentially the main force in that state, is still not a full-fledged state with all the conditions and problems that state has. It's not recognized by anyone in the world. They're still establishing themselves in the country, all of these things. So the brother has to review his point of view again based on that. So my inclination is that they have considerably recovered from the earlier ideas, with the exception of Bukhiti and a few other people. There would be always a few other people who have another point of view, which is very justified, because that's what he experienced in the recent 5-10 years. But it seems to be the people are waking up to this reality, but it doesn't make good sense that to disavow Iran publicly or in such a way, openly, and will be actually a mistake if it's done officially. But few hints here and there, maybe even the comments recent couple of months of Bakhiti, which still talk about Syria and the resistance front and so on, is by them say that so that the guys there do not come to a full break. They will be cornered. Because if Ansarullah would say, we have given up on Iran, Iran has betrayed us or something like that, then the relation will be broken and this will not be beneficial for the battlefield. It doesn't serve any purpose. Just know it and act accordingly. That's the way to deal with such a situation, which is the correct way from a Sharia point of view. even if we regard the Iranian leadership or part of it as hypocrites and not really concerned about Islam or Muslims, or sectarian, concerned about their own sects, because Yemen doesn't have Ja'fari Ithna Ashari. The Zaydi is essentially almost a Sunni branch. So the Iran leadership may be infected with sectarianism, but even the sectarianism has proven to be fake or not reliable concerning Hezbollah. Hezbollah is Ithna Ashari, and even the leader of Hezbollah, Hassan Nasrallah rahmatullah alayh, says clearly, I am not a scholar, my marja is Khamenei. So this is a real problem for Iran. Hezbollah is a real problem. They cannot step back without completely denying their Ithna Ashari madhab. And still a good section of the leadership are devoted, Ithna Ashari at least. If not, this is a devoted Muslim in general sense of Islam. So that's all that can be said. So that position of Yemen is very reasonable, and they should persist on that, and they should wait to see who does the initiative, who does the first step. And especially, luckily, by Allah's design, the situation between Saudi Arabia and Emirates, both are agents. Emirates are the one of the oligarchy, and specifically in the recent years, the Chabad-Lubavitch Russian Zeo oligarchy. But also still we're deeply connected with the British. And it seems to be the oligarchy of Britain and the Chabad-Lubavitch are slowly merging. And the Satanists like Blair and so on are having both feet here and there. We see that more and more from the Epstein the disclosures. So the Saudis are more with the military-industrial complex of America and the American nationalists or national Christian, more or less. But even America, the situation is confused, and the battle is still not settled internally. So that's what's going on. So a fallout between them happened, and this is very beneficial for us, Allah. So taking a very reasonable, relaxed position, watching carefully, and beneficial, of the great benefit that Saudi Arabia struck those separatists in the south who have shown their face that they're Israeli agents, very clear, like Aidarus, I was his name, I don't know his full name. He's a clear Israeli agent, and communicate with Israel directly and ask Israel to interfere and acknowledge them the same way they did with Somaliland acknowledgement. So these have been exposed. So these two criminals, the two thieves are fighting, and the victim is then obviously benefiting from the fight. And the victim was Yemen generally. Now the leader of Inshallah, they are just watching and not getting involved with any side, and not giving any statements supporting one against the other and so on, which is extremely wise and the way it should be done and the way it should be. Just watch and keep your powder dry, ready for the next round of the battle. So that's what concerning Palestine. Concerning Iran, I said, I have given up really, although I following this. I mean, I don't follow the news and so on, but it's not clear what's going on there in the leadership. It's absolutely not clear. The behavior until now is not the behavior of some people who are worthy of survival and really reviving the Ummah, unless they are keeping the nuclear program. They are developing the nuclear program at least after the strike, but maybe well before, to have nuclear warheads, at least 10, 12, because the 60% enriched uranium, the 480 kilograms, can be enriched easily to 90, and this is 1 or 2 stage enrichment. That's only a few weeks or even few days. And they have, I think, the enrichment facility, which is not really attacked, that's deep under the mountain. It's called the Hammer Mountain or something in Natanz, very deep, 200 meters under the floor level. So to be attacked from the air is not possible without nuclear weapons, and even questionable if nuclear weapons will do anything. So if the Americans, Israel, want to attack take it out, they have to land there, fight through the tunnels and so on. And this is a tall order, really, but it's not impossible. It should be kept in mind. This danger is there. If they have enough of their centrifuge there, and they seem to have long ago, several years there, and maybe another site which is as deep as that or deeper, and if they have succeeded in transferring, I don't think they are so stupid to leave the the 60% enrichment in the other places which have been struck. I don't think so. I think they went to the deepest and most secure one. Then it's an easy process. It's in form of gas yet. It had need to be enriched, and then after that, it has to be turned. Some people think that the facility which turns the gas into metal, the enriched gas or whatever it is, near Fordo, this is above the earth, has been attacked. It's true, that's been attacked, but I don't think that's the only facility. If you have a facility there, you can replicate it down in Natanz. So if that's done, and they develop that, and they're just now playing the game of back and forth with the American until they have the weapons ready and so on, which they don't need to test, by the way. Some people are thinking that maybe they should do a test. No need to do a test, especially the uranium devices do not need this. Even the plutonium devices, they needed maybe to be tested in time past with a nuclear explosion, like the first test actually in what they call the Trinity. The test called Trinity was really the plutonium device. It was ball-shaped, not the uranium. The uranium device used the technology of the 19th century, just gun technology. And the calculation shows clearly it will work, and it worked in Nagasaki. Hiroshima was the first, the fat one. So they tested that one because there was the first time ever something like that, because you have to have a plutonium ball surrounded with explosive in a very well-developed and designed way, and then ignite them simultaneously, which needs the wiring to be the same length and a very complicated way, and the signal given according to it. It needs really some work, and that was no way clear that it will work except after the Trinity. So they have two of them, Trinity and the one used against Hiroshima, and then Nagasaki they used the uranium bomb. So that's very, even that now is not needed. Now we can test explosive enclosure with non-explosive core. It doesn't need to be plutonium. Anyway, Iran doesn't seem to have plutonium unless they have purchased something in the early 90s when some plutonium balls were available in the market after the collapse of the Soviet Union. And now they're hiding that. But you don't need, you can make explosives, design it, and do measurement and so on, calculation, and see if the result in the explosion with just normal core, but measuring devices fits with the calculation. Then you know it will work. So you don't need really to do a test. I think Pakistan did not do. No, nobody recorded any underground test for Pakistan, or above ground, obviously, underground test for Pakistan. They just announced they have it, and they tested only the mechanism, and it worked. Pakistan have a mix also, plutonium and uranium. So if they have that, then what they are doing now is a good tactics. Delay things as much as possible so they can improve their air defense, because it seemed to be, they made a strategic mistake. And that reflects also in that the head of in the army, the head of the Air Force was removed, sent in early retirement and so on. That they regard the policy in the last 10, 15, 20 years was not a correct policy. There was not enough focus on radar systems, first-class defense systems, and so on. And they were developing their own, like the system S-300, they took from the Russian, and they developed it further, almost the level of S-400. But Iran is a big country, until you have enough devices and so on. You cannot rely on your own development. You have to supplement that with getting from the others. So that was a very slow process, which does not fit with the situation in the area. In the area, you have to do a fast process, development process, developing internally and getting meanwhile from elsewhere as much latest technology as possible. And also they neglected, in the case of Russia, they supported Russia enormously in 2022, 23, 24 until now. They did not really do any clear effort to get to put pressure on Russia that you have to reciprocate now with these devices. Since Russia, they have S-400, S-400 and 500s, but they are to protect faraway areas which are unlikely to be attacked by Ukraine, because these are usually strategic areas. And their attack is will ignite a nuclear war. So they could really afford some of these systems. It seems to be now they have sent the systems, but they have sent them relatively late. So it seems to be there's a problem with this policy. But if, as I said, if and only if they have previously really acquired nuclear capabilities, and they are doing it now or completing it now, then this tactics of offering to negotiate back and forth is a good tactic. It's a good delaying tactic. If not, then it is a recipe for catastrophe, because the more you negotiate, the Trump and co, they have enough intelligence, because it seems to be the Iranian regime and even the leadership level is sufficiently penetrated by the oligarchy intelligence and Mossad and the British intelligence and even the Chabad Lubavitch in time past, at least until now, until recently. When, by the way, Putin seems to have liberated himself from the Chabad Lubavitch, and he's very critical now, but he is busy with Ukraine. Possible, but still he cannot be trusted 100%. So if that's not the case, then the situation may become dire, because you delay, you want to complete your air defense capabilities, you want to add new systems, getting new planes are coming, but the problem until the training is completed and so on, it takes time. These things take 2 years. You cannot wait until the war erupts. But obviously their calculation was stupid calculation. We support the regime in Syria, not for Palestine. That's what they said. I never believed that, and I told the people here, don't be fooled by the claim. This is fraud. This is most likely the so-called reformer and the foreign agents there is at best fooling the religious leadership, which is relatively simple-minded in matter of politics and day-to-day negotiation and things like that. They say it's a strategic decision, not an ideological decision. So a strategic decision, the idea in their mind is that any war under a confrontation battle will be in Syria, not back home. Now we see what's the result. That doesn't work this way. You'll get, if there's war, you will get at home also, especially you are confronting Israel and America. And they have obviously enormous air force capabilities, and they have nuclear capabilities. So it had been, if during all that time, no real serious development of nuclear capabilities has been done, just forget about the fatwa. The fatwa may be just for taqiyya, for fake, but we don't worry about that. If that has not been, then the price which will be paid would be severe. But still, it's possible to defeat America and Israel. But you have to get sufficient self-confidence. If you now try to delay things in the hope that you will be able to catch up now, I don't think this is a good policy now, because the confrontation cannot be delayed ad infinitum. Because obviously Israel recognized they have a limited time. Trump is collapsing in America. His approval rate is sinking considerably, and he has sent signal in that direction. My base is becoming anti-Israeli, anti-Zionist, number one. And the main thing for Trump is his own ego and his own base, number one. Second, Israel, but he is worshipping himself first. Then maybe the Israeli God, maybe. So the pressure is increasing on him, and he needs to have some victories. Until now, he did not succeed in anything significantly. The various tariffs and sanctions are either not working or working very slowly, and the hurting the Americans, the American public, much more than hurting the others for now. They may, after 2-3 years, work and get the industry back, but nobody can wait that. And then the next election seems to be lost already. And the recent statistics, which classify the people according to classes of people, like white, elderly, white, young people, etc. Usually, the white older generation, like from the mature one, the one in government position and so on, 40 and upward, Trump used to have always the highest possible approval rating. Was never under 50%. Now it's sunk under 50. The other side is taking over in this group of population, in which he has always the highest possible approval rate and never below 50%. Now he sunk under 50. The general approval in the whole country totally is maybe, I think, I don't know what's the last number, 35%. One of the lowest in American history since obviously polls have been kept. It's unbelievable. So he feels the pressure. And then obviously the leaks of the Epstein and so on, which has been not only by people demanding inside America, that's definitely part of it, but who is behind that? Behind it, the British oligarchy, because they have to put him under pressure so he can stand in their side against Russia and so on, or at least continue his commitment to defend Europe until they, in 2, 3, 4 years, they will be able to have enough capabilities and this reindustrialization to do that. So they are considerable part are there in that plot, but in a very sophisticated underground way. But they have to balance that very carefully because they don't want to bring Israel destruction, which can be destroyed in that process, and then they don't want to get things into a heavy confrontation. So it's back and forth, but obviously the leaking in there's a considerable participation from the British side, even if they may need to play it. Even the parliament that Keir Starmer is forced to make admission, and people asking for his resignation. All of the politics of the oligarchy, Keir Starmer can resign, someone else will fill his place. This way, this will obviously radiate back to America, which says, look, in Britain, this guy resigned. Why is not similar here in our country, and so on. So you have to look to that from various sides and be very cautious about that. So it's very complex about what's in Iran. Unless, as I said, there's something serious, really have been going long ago, I would have done that if I have power in Iran from the 90s. If nothing like that is going since then, and at least if they missed that opportunity of buying these nuclear devices which were available, at least the board was available, the plutonium balls, because Russia has plenty of them, because with the START treaties and all salt, etc., they had tens of thousands of warheads, mostly based on plutonium, and they decommissioned them. Decommissioning means taking the explosive part and keeping the balls in certain underground places well separated, so they don't go critical by themselves. They will not go critical, definitely, or think by themselves. So they were available. When the Soviet Union collapsed, due to the corruption which was reigning supreme in the first few years, there were some high-ranking generals and so on put their hand on some of these and were selling them in the market, in the black market. If I were in power at that time, anywhere, I would have got some of those. But I hope they have got something, but we don't know. Even if that's gone, when the program started with the banner, we are not going to be it, but we are, enrichment is our national right, and we will insist on it, and they continue enriching and so on, etc., etc. They may have very well done something at the side, could have done for someone under the side, under great secrecy. Which is even if that's not done before because of this International Atomic Energy Commission and so on, and the betrayal, still they have other sides which the guys did not have access. On the moment they expel them out from that until now, they should have accumulated enough uranium at least for a good number of devices, 10 to 20. I hope they have that. Otherwise, the next strike will be. And as I said, there will be not very much of a delay. If they think they can delay things, maybe, and then have some kind one-legged program or something like the JCPOP, or that's the name of that, or the agreement, if they think they can get a modified form of that, so they can go for it 1 or 2 years, they can get Trump in that direction. And Trump may be satisfied with that. He will drum the whole world that we force them to submit and so on. This will not be even enough to do that if they did not start this seriously. But I don't think now Netanyahu was scheduled to visit on the 18th or 17th or 18th February. He pulled it forward. He's going Tuesday. That's today is the 8th or the 9th, then 11th. He's going Tuesday, and he will meet with Trump Wednesday. So the matter is becoming of high urgency for them, because they know from what's going inside America and the fact that they are losing the base, and there's a possibility of a major backlash, considerable major backlash. So they want to for themselves to save the day, get America at least to do some good legwork for them. In addition, it seems to be some Bazari and some idiots or traitors in Iran, in the bazaar and so on, have called the people for demonstration for the 40 days martyrdom of the one on 8th January. So they called the people for the 18th, which should be the 1st Ramadan almost. to celebrate 40 days of the people who are murdered in the street. That could be a key to open the floodgate again for such demonstrations and attempt to attack the regime. So the situation will become extremely critical in the coming couple of weeks. And I don't think Trump will resist. In addition, obviously, Trump seems to be having serious cognitive problems now. It's so clear from the recent interviews and so on. And he is not able to put sentences together. He's not able to connect things. Like, for example, asking about the 2 Americans killed in Minneapolis. And he said, the people are making big fuss about that. We have controlled the waters. He thinks about the people complaining about the killing in the Caribbean. They're talking about Minneapolis. He's now talking about the Caribbean and talking about that we have a major force there and so on. And they have killed hundreds of thousands of Americans by the drugs. He's not connected. His situation is very serious. So I think that the Israelis will say, before the Samson option, we should get the pre-Samson option, get America to fight, even if they get defeated and so on. Definitely, it will not be without considerable cost for Iran. And they may consider the following, that the Iranian may focus more on the American bases than the American ships rather on Israel. And that's very well possible, because the way they think is not a productive way, where the reality would be really to hammer Israel completely. And the American bases and so on, just take care of them by middle-range and short-range missiles and so on. And that Israel would be losing, really. Would be forcing either to a Samson option, which is not option, will not be applied, or just pack their luggage and go. So let's wait and see. But the Israeli evaluation is the following. And they're threatening now. It seems to be they're putting the American leadership on there. Either you do it, and it's pretty soon, because they have election, I think, in a couple of months. Israeli, I mean. If you don't do it now, then we'll be forced to do it alone. And then you have then either step to defend us, or the hell will be loose. And this is sufficient pressure on Trump and co. Unless America happens to say, okay, go ahead, we support you, and then he forsakes them. But doesn't seem to be fitting in the way of his thinking, his deranged cognitive state. His level of rationality is questionable. Nobody knows his reaction. So I think the trip of Netanyahu next week, Tuesday, he's traveling, and Wednesday he will meet with Trump, is very significant, and is the calling for funeral demonstrations for so-called martyrs of the 8th of January, when things stopped in Iran. The government took control the situation, and they're trying to do the same thing that Khomeini did for the one martyred by the Shah regime in time past. The 40-day celebration for the martyrdom was used to create more problems, and then there's another 40 days and so on, and it became a floodgate. They may try to do that, but now they have enormous support from Israel and from Azerbaijan. We know that the special forces, American special forces, are now accumulating and becoming quite a considerable force in Azerbaijan, Delta Force, and with special planes and with special helicopters for such operation. Maybe they're planning to do an operation of decapitation, or killing Khamenei, or killing some leadership in there. And that's very well possible. It's not clear what's America, but you should not underestimate America's capability of stabbing in the back and attacking critical points. They have the capability. They did that, for example, in Venezuela. Obviously, Iran is not Venezuela, but if they do it, and also Tehran is far away from the border. It's not like Venezuela. Caracas is the seaside, essentially, and they can come close to that. Although the aircraft carrier was far away relatively, avoiding any possibility of being attacked by hypersonic missiles, which Venezuela seems to be having a couple of them. In the case of Iran, the aircraft carriers are far away. They don't come closer than 700 kilometers. Maybe now, with the new delivery of new missiles of 1,000-kilometer range, they maybe keep outside 1,000. So that's a little bit pacifying. But you have a bigger aircraft carrier called Azerbaijan, and from there the distance is within. And there's no way to deal with that without invading Azerbaijan and removing the regime. And this is obviously not on the table. So it's a very complex situation, a very messy situation in which Iranian leadership got themselves in it. And the beginning of the disease started years, even decades before that. Can anyone fix it? That only Allah knows. But it is very ominous. It's very ominous. We have to watch very, very carefully. It's very depressing to see the whole situation and see that. So as I said, unless they have done something, like I said, so starting in the 90s, having some plutonium balls and already enriched the 60% to 90% and turn it into metal. And this requires that they have another facility under Natanz, not the one on Fordo only, because the one Fordo is above the ground, maybe a decoy that was bombed. Okay, but this one, if there's another one, if they relied only 1 to 10 uranium gas into the uranium hexafluoride, to turn it into metal, only that one, they don't have another one, then this is the utmost stupidity or betrayal and criminality from some part of the leadership. But this is all if. We'll see what develops. And even now, they could have taken the initiative, finding any occasion to start attacking America and hammer Israel, and then force America to really to come more than that. But it will be a long, painful process. And it seems to me they don't have the courage or the confidence or the trust in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, their own people, to do that. And that's there because if they don't, their own doing. That's the problem. That's all because of your own doing, not anybody else doing. Okay, so we can only pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by His grace, steps in and make things go in the direction which is ultimately negative to Israel and America. And that it may finish the Iran regime, it may stay, we don't know. But even if it's finished, if it can give a deadly strike to Israel, a good one cutting the legs at least, then Hamas and Hezbollah are more than enough to get rid of the rest. More than enough. To remove these ideas from your mind that Israel is a ghoul and nobody can defeat it. Maybe states not, but internally. If the fight is in Haifa and Tel Aviv, that entity is gone. That's what should be the focus and the idea since a long time. But unfortunately, these people do not seem to be thinking this way, unfortunately. Okay. So let's wait and see. Let's wait and see. It's premature to. But concerning, just final note about Epstein, what's coming out is, you may remember several months ago, I said that with the pedophilia and underage girls and so on, that is not really the main issue. There, something will come of maybe human sacrifices, maybe satanic rituals, and this is starting to come. And that's not all of it. More will come. Just wait and see. More will come. And more disclosure will come. And more exposure. There are now rumors that some people claim that Epstein was a Russian asset. It's not a Russian asset, meaning Russia, the Russian government and Russian leadership and so on. But he is a Chabad Lubavitch Zionist oligarchy, which is still quite powerful in Russia. He is one of their assets. And possibly of high-ranking position there. So he's, you cannot say Mossad agent, but Mossad associate. So high-ranking is he in this web of satanic rituals and satanists and so on. But let's wait and see. It will become interestingly also because they were able to force Clinton to come for the parliament. Otherwise, they would have sued him for contempt of parliament of Congress. And Clinton is now moving against them, and they say, "Okay, I will come, but I insist that will be as usual. Should be a public inquiry that." The Republican, who using the party card, the Republican, which obviously the head of this committee, they want to make it close behind closed doors so they can play with it. We are not going to go party politics. We want the American public to see what's going on, and I'm willing to address everything publicly under oath. So they are now stuck with that. They are stuck. So it's going, I think, next week. So wait for some fireworks there also. So that's very interesting. So that's very interesting. Okay. Okay, I think we'll go to Q&A.
No problem. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just to continue. One quick question. So, sorry, as far as the Epstein files, then more and more to come with that. And is it likely to unseat Trump?
Possible. If it brings something more significant, although he's hedging and so on, but it may come to a level that then Vance seems to be quite unhappy, and there's some plotting in the background. Although publicly he has to be like a sycophant, because he knows the nature of Trump. He has to play the sycophant. But recently, that is being, I think, a couple of days ago or 2 days ago, he has been booed in Italy in this Winter Olympics, which has been held in I think, the Italian Alps. I think it's the Winter Olympics, not the full Olympics. Winter Olympics. Yeah, this is winter. So it's Winter Olympics is there. And February, end of January is the best time with the snow and so on. So it had been booed by the people. Also, the Israeli participants have been booed. So he's seeing that that he has to take a better position now. But he has to rally enough people in the cabinet to unseat Trump and find some reason and so on. If he can construct something like mental cognition problems, health problems, and so on, and Trump health is deteriorating very rapidly, especially the cognitive one, he may do it. This can be, and that he can use what it is growing. Let's wait and see what Clinton will express and so on publicly, because it seems to be the head of the committee in the House of Representatives who's doing the investigation. I don't think he will be able to get away to make it a closed door inquiry. After Clinton said, I'm ready for a public inquiry under oath. So he will be squeezed out. Both of them said. Now they've tried to squeeze Clinton. He tried to escape, but he was politically motivated. Now he's come back saying, okay, I'm coming. Alas, and his lawyer protected them. So there's no need to launch a lawsuit against him in the courts for contempt of Congress. Or contempt of contempt of Congress, which is very severe, obviously, in America. But now he made his counterattack, which is an excellent move for us, at least. He doesn't care less. He's so old, soon he will be gone. And his wife, I think, has given up. Hillary, I don't think she hopes for anything in the future. She has given up, خلاص. So they say, okay, to the hell with whatever comes there. That Clinton is a womanizer. That's well known even before he became president. Oh, many stories are known about him. So he will admit all these things, but he has nothing to do, most likely very little to do with the satanic rituals or all these things. So if he exposed other people, this would be massive, would be enormous. Now we see what the committee head, who is a Republican in the House of Representatives, what will do with the challenge put forward publicly by Clinton. By the Clintons. So some fireworks is there. And this will put pressure on Trump also to comply with Netanyahu or come out clear, say no, is not clear. The man cannot be, his cognitive state cannot be trusted. He feels that everything is going down. He's just getting, also the mistake of depicting Obama and his wife as monkeys in his falsehood social, we call the truth social, and then the counter of the general public was so enormous that he needed to step back and say, "Oh, that's not posted by him." Some staff made a mistake and posted them and removed that tweet. This is very catastrophic. So he's in the squeeze. That's the reason I say the 2 coming weeks are extremely full of fireworks and problems. Let's see what happens. Okay.
Okay.
By the way, there's a Telegram channel called Geoprime, Geopolitics or Geoprime. They are attending to the Epstein files and synchronizing them and putting them, not only the files. Many people, I know someone who downloaded the whole zip file. It took 12 hours at night. Not this one, but they are studying it by computers, by synchronizing words, etc. And they are putting like articles, analyzing and cross-referencing For anyone interested, can go to, I think, GeoPrime, Geo underscore or GeoPrime. Try in the Telegram Geo and then Prime, and you see many channels with Geo and the GeoPrime or Geo underscore Prime. Yeah.
Okay. I'm just looking myself.
If one of the Shawab is interested in these things, there will be one maybe. He can follow that and get, as usual, and let me stress it again, as usual, these things, you see them in Telegram or you see them in the YouTube, they are not with you until you download them in your computer. That's it. Download first and then think about what to do with it later. But give it a reasonable, clear name, or even the name they appear in the group and so on, along the file name, so you don't need to go into the complex process of checking where is that and so on. Give them a significant, good name, and then you have them in your computer. And then you can relax, then study them and analyze them and so on. If after some years and so on, or decades, they are irrelevant, you can check them in the bin. But if you don't download them, they are gone. So don't do that. Download them before they are changed. Even people who, the first allotment, when they put in the Department of Justice, the OJ, they made a mistake in some things and they removed it later. But some people downloaded before that. They did not blacken that what should be blacken something else. And because most likely it didn't, because the huge amount of documents, they're doing it by computer program, artificial intelligence. And this will not be infallible. And so some people who did not download immediately the moment that was posted, they will bite their nails. That's it. Simple. Whatever you see there, immediately in your computer, and as I said, as you told everyone earlier, get a hard disk, external. Let us say now economically it can be like a 6 tera. 8 tera might be not that economical. It's better to have 6 tera and another 6 tera in the future than the 8 per gigabyte or per terabyte. The 6, I think, it's still the most economical. Maybe now it's the 8. My last check was a couple of years ago, and I found that the 6 tera is more economical per tera or per gigabyte, while the 8 was excessive. But you have it in one place. Well, no need for one place. I get a 6, and then later, if I need, I get another 6. You will never feel that in your life unless you are doing continuously video downloading. Maybe, but if it's just files and text files and PDFs, you can live 40, 50 years, you will never fill one of the 6 tera. Almost never. So do that. Don't be complacent. This report is interesting. Whoosh, say it fast. Even if you read half of it, then you continue reading. Then you continue reading. Not finish it first and then call me on telephone and I found this and so on. Like some people call me about something. Did you do it? No, I will do it. No. You should have downloaded it first before you complete and before you call me. Then we can check it in the benefit outcomes to it. But if we don't do it and it's taken out, and this happened in various occasions, I said that so many times, so there seems to be the Shabab are just like under anesthesia, as if they open their mouth and looking in astonishment. Don't look in astonishment. If you find something which maybe a sentence or something is very significant, very important, download it into your computer. And then later on, maybe
I think this is the important thing, is to get out of our mentality. We have to take ownership. We have to take ownership. It's on us. Nobody else will do the job. You have to do the job.
And even if you say that the long video, it will occupy, don't worry. Download it, and the important things you can cut them in and have the address of the video and so on stored somewhere, and maybe some screenshots. So if it's taken out completely, you have the screenshots for the general verification, and you have the cutted pieces as needed. Maybe a video of 1 hour or something is having maybe 5 minutes here, 3 minutes here. That's significant. That you do later in editing in a relaxed way. But first get it there. Then do the editing and cutting later. You want to discuss with me about because something you think is worth checking, fine, but it has to be in your computer. Because I will ask anyone from now on, if you tell me, is it in your computer? If you say no, so go back and do it first. I will just discuss. We have to take matter in our hand. We have to wake up, because most of the Shabab, unfortunately, seem to be in a slumber. You have to wake up for your convenience slumber. And this is not really a great effort. It's quite easy. It's quite easy. Just get in a habit. It should become a next habit, a natural habit. But that's at the beginning, it will be difficult. You have to search, there's me download first. Then don't let me get excited. And so it becomes just a standard routine, a very standard routine. And there's video downloaders, a 4K downloader, and many others available. They will download it to give them the address, let it go, and so on. Okay, so just a reminder.
Also, on a connected note as well, join our Telegram channel. We'll be putting a lot of our videos in there as well as a backup, because we do not, because professors and the amount of time your house, how many times your house got raided and all your equipment taken? I mean, let's count.
Yeah.
So the best policy for our own maturity.
I have a hard disk, an old hard disk, which used to Fireport. What's it called?
Apple Fireport, yeah.
Yeah, no, the one before that, the one which was after USB came that very fast for video. They call it video link or so on, Sony, and they got a name, Fire something. It was very common until the early of the century. But then USB became cable of 400 4 mega, and then now we have USBs improved into Thunderbolt. That's later. But that's one. I still have the hard disk. I can go to any company which have all the equipment and they can recover what's there. But I don't think I need anything there, but it's still there. It still exists, it's still saved. I bought it 20 plus years before. Oh, it's still there. So it doesn't cost. It's just a device like that. You put it in a shelf and we wrap it nicely so that it doesn't get dusty. And it just stay there almost forever. The same with the modern ones who are USB 3, connected to USB 3 very fast. I think it gets, 2 gig or something like that, bits per second and so on, extremely fast.
Okay, just for the late joiners, we've had to move channel. The old channel is gone, unfortunately. I personally never owned the channel, and I'm reliant on somebody else. I've passed the information. We did an appeal, and I've left it to the person who's got the greater access. Unlikely we'll get it back, but we've got backup files, and we have in our link, we've got the Odyssey channel, which has a number of things. It's going to take time. It's going to take time. But funnily enough, I've just ordered fiber for myself. So inshallah, once I get rock and rolling on fiber, I'll be able to upload a lot quicker as well.
Everyone should improve his because unless the area does not support, then we have to buy the bullet. But if the area supports, improve yours.
Yeah. I mean, and the point is that we can't just rely on
the prices are quite reasonable now. They have sunk really.
Yeah, don't worry. I mean, that's all by the by. But the point is that it'll take time because we've always said very clearly we have next to no resources.
You have not been around when what we have now in fiber was available, so-called T1, T, and the T half, T quarter. To get a T quarter, you have to pay £2,000 per month. Fiber now is better than T quarter or T half.
And those were corporations back in the city. I remember that.
So we needed that in time for broadcasting satellites. Are we paying these prices until we went bankrupt? Anyway.
So we'll basically be uploading
£20 more, £30 more, £10 more.
Yeah.
And many competing companies and so on. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So whoever's listening, listen to the earlier rant, because this seems to have been orchestrated. This seems to be deliberate.
Yeah.
So even our TikTok, I had my first strike based off of putting an image of Netanyahu drinking blood, and that was considered to be against violating things. So I doubled down. I'm looking to burn out certain accounts. I'm happy to burn this account out. I'm happy to burn out our TikTok. I'm going to go out fighting and then have multiple redundancies. So join the Telegram group. So inshallah, so everything that gets published will end up in there as well. So multiple locations. Just you can't rely on us being around, not just because we're getting older, but also just in terms of mechanisms being closed, because it's orchestrated. The kuffar have given up on their ideology. Zionists, for example, what they're backing the far right, which shows you that they're willing to sacrifice their own security, because if you feed the far right, that undermines the Jews themselves. Mm-hmm. And although Judaism has been usurped by Zionism, Zionism is an aberration. Yeah. Judaism, Jews used to live in Muslim lands completely peacefully. Look at what Aaron Mattei says, and look at Avi Schleim. He does an entire complete premise on the subject of how the Iraqi Jewish people were undermined by the Zionists coming in and doing all kinds of terrorist attacks. And
Yeah.
there's the entire thing about the Lavon affair, which was clearly was exposed. Zionists making bombs to make life awkward for Jewry, so that they
Also,
forced
the
to.
cooperation with Hitler now is coming out. They have even medals in which one side is having the swastika, another side is having the David Star and gold coins commemorating the good relation in the Nazi time. But so that's slowly coming through the daylight. And they have pushed the Nazis, just get the people the hell out, squeeze them so that they have to run away. And then if they run away, there are no ways if they come to Palestine or come to the Western countries, and then later on we will ship them somehow, we'll remove them. So, yeah, very unfortunate, but that's the reality. We have to deal with it. It's not good to indulge in lamentation and philosophical discussion, but definitely look, for example, the golden time of Jewish history, maybe the time of David and Solomon, long ago. That's long ago, and destroyed by Nebuchadnezzar and by the Romans. But after the Christ, والسلام, the golden time was in Andalusia. 3-4 centuries, they developed their philosophy, they developed their grammar, they developed. In that time, they also have the current final quote unquote version of the Old Testament, which has been copied and copied and copied since. We have some of these obviously found in the Dead Sea caves, but there's the oldest we can find. And the copying seems to be, at least for some books, excellent, and some books there is obviously it proves that the copying process, if it's done honestly, it can persist over 1,000+ years. But some books, for example, the book of Isaiah is there's a complete version found in the Dead Sea, in the caves, in the Dead Sea manuscripts, and it's almost exactly the same like the one we have in the 10th century, which exists, still available in certain museums and so on, and obviously printed and so on. That one. So the copying process is very reliable, provided the people are honest. But the book of Jeremiah, the current one is much bigger, like 10% more than, and this is a clear embellishment. And to add insult to injury, the Latin translation of Jeremiah, which relies most likely in that version in the Dead Sea Scrolls or a similar version, is also as short or as the same size of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So where did the 10% extra came? Embellishment, fabrication over the copying process. So the communication principle is capable, but clearly not all copying and not all books have been copied honestly. So you see that whatever, that's just a side note, whatever it is, what we have now is produced from the Masorites, which were, yes, in Palestine, but it was in connection with the intellectual prosperity and advancement, which was in Andalusia, in Egypt, and so on. The biggest philosopher is originally from there, Maimonides, Yusuf bin Maimun. He was born in Andalusia, and then he joined and was almost like a prime minister of the Fatimi regime in Egypt. Yeah. They were very, very well established and having very nice life and very well developed. The development, that's excellent. Nobody was touching them with ill anywhere. And then these Zionists come and make their life upside down. Anyway, that's their choice. Everyone has to make his own destiny. Okay, next point. Any question? The next one.
Okay, so next question. If a menstruating woman has not made up previous fasts, does she need to make up the fast and give the fidya, or just make up the fast? I've had some individuals say she must make up fasts and pay fidya.
I don't know where they got this. Some individual, with their evidence, ask them. It has to be made up. If she misses until the next Ramadan comes, then she has to do this Ramadan and then make it up after that. Making tawbah for delaying it deliberately, yes, this is a sin. But tawbah is made by tawbah, the usual way of tawbah. There's no instruction that the only way to make tawbah is, in that case, is to make a fidya. It has nothing. Fidya is, if there's any fidya, is according to Ibn Abbas, the fidya is the remaining for the old man or the nursing mother and so on, who are unable to do it. So they give a fidya and they don't need to make it up. But there's a controversy about that. Many scholars say it's mansukh because this ayah contains part of it's mansukh. And Ibn Abbas said, no, this part is not mansukh. But mansukh is the one with Ramadan. When the month comes, you have to fast it. And unless you are sick or on travel. And then you make it up. That's it. So there's a controversy between the scholars. So see what their evidence is. I didn't study this problem because I think the classical scholar may have studied properly. If you're interested, otherwise, just making it up. And make the intention. The motive is not to miss it. Make your intention not to miss it. That's it. But we have the hadith of Aisha that because of Messenger of Allah, sometimes they were unable, she was unable to do the makeup until Sha'ban next year. So it was delayed. There's no evidence that she was rebuked or something. And if it's until Sha'ban, still had with no intention not to do it, that would be meaning you don't want to fast. That's something else. That will be a kabira. But if it's done because of circumstances, conditions, forgetfulness, negligence, and so on, then you do it after that Ramadan. But you are just loading yourself with more and more. Because who guarantees you that this second Ramadan you will not miss other days? And so on. So that's it. I would say the one who claims there's an extra fidya, they have to bring the reason for that. Because the extra fidya is على الذين يطيقونه طعام مسكين. For each day one feeding, no making up. So making up and fidya at the same time seems to be asynchronous, but I don't know what's their argument. So do your own research in that if you're interested in this fiqh question. Yeah. We're saying Ramadan definitely is as either in travel or sick, and unless you are, now the question comes, if someone is permanently unable because of old age and so on, unable, really sick, or for example, so fasting will harm him and there's no hope of recovery, so he can make it up later. There may be a question, is a fidya and so on, is it from الذين يطيقونه or not? I would say if he cannot, then he's not the one Ibn Abbas is addressing. Addressing Ibn Abbas is the one who can do it, but with great difficulties. But this cannot do it because he has a disease which prevents him. He has to take medication every 4 hours, for example, for life. And there's no hope of recovery. It's called muzmin, zaman. Then the obligation is gone. Yeah. But that's can be further analyzed. See if you are interested in that, look at the references and see what maybe you should start with Ibn Hazm about Siyam and things like that. See what he says. And then we go from there. Just do some legwork and they will try to complete.
Okay. Also, directly related, somebody actually asked me this specifically. I normally fast during Ramadan, but might not be able to fast due to an operation and subsequent recovery. So again, do I have to make up fast?
Make it up, yeah. Naturally.
Yeah, no need to pay fidya.
No, fidya, no. Who said fidya there? No.
So just when he's scheduled, do whatever they tell him to do. Eat, don't eat, whatever.
Yeah.
And then recover as need be, all medications and whatever.
Yeah.
If a person's on permanent medications, if for example they're diabetic, etc., then effectively the pen is lifted. Yeah, in that situation, if they're diabetic.
Yeah, if it's Muslim, there's no way to. There's no hope of recovery. It's just medication just to keep them alive, like the one with the injection. But the injection will not break the fast anyway.
Okay.
So
sometimes what they do is you have to have injection and have something to eat as well to balance.
Have food. That's something else. If it's necessary like that, then you say he's unable. خلاص. Istita'a is gone. The obligation is gone. And making up is not possible because we have no expectation that he will recover. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I think that's the logic of the ayahs is clear. But see what Ibn Hazm, what other scholars say, or summarize it and so on. By the way, I think you can even, I think someone has asked ChatGPT similar things and got a reasonable summary. It's not an excellent, but a reasonable summary. From there, we can go and build one by one, top and top it, one of it. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next question. Is it permissible for a Muslim to become a member of a parliament in a country with 100% Muslim population where assuming often... We had this already.
Oh,
was this last week? Yeah. Okay.
I think we had it last time. But anyway, it's not a question of 100% or 90% or 50%. It's a question you cannot be elected to parliament until your electorates that you are going to account the government and participate in legislation only within the framework of Islam.
This was relation to with the Muslim public, where assuming office is taken as a platform or podium, yet requires a binding constitutional oath and a formal signing.
I answered that thing in the article here, but again, binding oath, that's a dilemma. Yeah, definitely. But we have an example how to deal with it. Sheikh Ahmed al-Daour in the 50s joined the Jordanian parliament, and there's an oath which should be loyalty to the king and so on. So he asked Sheikh Taqi what to do. He wrote him another oath formula, and there in the oath he said the other formula, that he will be a sincere servant for the Ummah and a sincere servant of Islam. And everyone was shocked in there. They have then the option either to admit him, especially when you say 100% Muslim country, they will be stuck. If they say out, you have to say this. No, your oath, this point of the oath violates Islam. I'm not going to say it. Or they accept it and swallow it down. You have to do the test to be ready for that. That's it. Straightforward. But being in the parliament or out of parliament or giving your sermon against calling people for Tawheed who are standing under an idol, go to the temple of Shiva and call for Tawheed inside is not a problem. Even if Shiva is on top of you, this idol is just a statue. There's no divine being called Shiva. There's only one divine being, that Allah, the Exalted and Majestic, in the Shiva temple. Enter the Shiva temple, whatever it is like entering a market, entering a bathroom, is a place. Say, مؤسسة شركية, they say this is a pagan institution. There's nothing called pagan institution. What's being done there, what humans are doing is pagan or not pagan. There's no pagan institution. There's no pagan building. There's no pagan statue or picture. Only the belief in it, the one who believes it and address it to it, they'll become pagan. Yeah, and we discussed that in the Tawheed. When Ibrahim told you, what is these statues, what these sculpture you are devoted to? Say, these are not sculpture, you are mistaken. These are idols. They represent some kind of heavenly entities and so on. So you are mistaken. That's what make it idol, make it shirk. Not that it's a statue nicely manufactured. That's no problem in itself. Except the issue of the can we make statues haram, halal. That has to be set on another ground. Most likely it is a mistake of misunderstanding the hadith of Ibn Mas'ud. The suwar and is really the suwar and so on of idols, of divine entities, not just a picture of someone. Yeah, but this is not an issue for today. Okay, good. Next.
Okay. Now that Saif al-Gaddafi has been assassinated in Zintan, who do you think was behind it, and what do you think are going to be the repercussions in the country?
I could care less. We'll see what the result come. Who is benefiting? Who is not benefiting? No idea. I have no idea, because he was dormant. Nobody knows, and people say that he was attacked in his house, and other people say no, he was in a group of fighters and so on. The situation is not clear. If he's in a group of fighters, so meaning rebelling against the Tripoli government or trying to take power there by force. And some people say he nominated himself for the next election. Maybe there's some competitor like the Bibi and so on, the Bibi or Dibba, what's his name? They wanted to undermine his this and assassinated him. Maybe, we don't know. I thought just don't waste your mental energy on that unless you are Libyan, and then you have to check what's behind that. What was his program when he said that he would nominate himself and so on, and see what could be behind that. It may just private something, because he and his father, they have obviously blood in their hand, and there will be people who are taking revenge. And when announced himself that he would be able to say, no, this is going too much, and they killed him. But I think it's something of a political plot. It's not just someone taking personal revenge only. Or he was in a situation in which taking revenge became feasible. Before that, it was not, because under guard was first in prison and then guarded by the government in Tripoli. That's possible. And don't forget that Libya is, even in Tripoli and Benghazi, society is quite tribal. It's like Saudi Arabia, even more tribal than Saudi Arabia. there may be some people who are taking revenge, and tribes keep the grudge for a long time and take revenge. So we don't know. I wouldn't waste my mental energy with that, really.
Ultimately, irrespective of what happens on the ground, if people are on the ground, the long work needs to be done in terms of educating people.
Because you don't know his agenda, what he was offering as a president or as a candidate. If we knew that agenda and what he was representing recently, then you could say, oh, it's that oligarchy or this, or maybe he's becoming independent. He's waking up to the reality. Maybe he came to conclude that his father was remotely manipulated by certain forces. Maybe this, maybe that. But we don't have to. It's just an incident which is nothing clear who is behind that.
So just somebody DM me about a question. I'll answer it, and you can feel free to interject. So the question was, can you give me some tips regarding reading about maqasid and maslaha in regards to getting into parliament? So just to cover this off, it's being mentioned quite a few times. The entire discussion on maqasid and maslih is kind of irrelevant for us, because ultimately you have general permissibility. All things are permitted until evidence restricts. Any benefit cannot supersede something which is categorically haram. So, for example, ruling by kufr is categorically haram. Going into parliament and you swearing an oath and ruling by kufr. For example, there was the Scottish parliamentarian called Hamza Yusuf, who was asked, who was asked about gay marriage and things like that. He said he doesn't have a problem with it. So this becomes very problematic. You can't pull this kind of game. So this entire discussion about maslaha is not going to overrule a clear hukum. So that's one thing. And the other thing is you already have general permissibility. So the act of joining anything, doing anything is all permissible until you go into these areas where it's already prohibited. So, but if you want to delve any further, I'd recommend getting on the mic and asking, because I'm not going to be entertaining any endless back and forth. There was a point at which the doc did mention about punishing Biden, but this was framed differently. This is about punishing.
Specifically, this is the tactical voting for a certain purpose,
and which is also to be expressed in some form as well.
Yeah, that has to be clearly expressed like that for the electors. I'm not coming there to do anything except this.
And the other thing is also for local elections, people standing as independents, so they're not going to be participating in general election. Is another one where there is an area of
even general election if you're independent, but within the frame of Islam, as we discussed earlier. Within that frame, I want to ask about 100% Muslim will say is irrelevant 100% or not, but you have to enter with your own agenda. If you join, for example, as a Labour candidate, you are under the Labour agenda. That's the banner you are entering under. And that's a banner of kufr. Finish. Game over. No. But as an independent or your own party, but your own party for what? To account the government, to observe the government, criticize the government, and also participate in legislation within the frame of Islam. It's no problem. Because the obligation is on you, not in the parliament or the building. You can't be in any building and do that. And if you get an opportunity like that, when you mention Sheikh Ahmed Daour, he in the parliament, he did that exactly, but there was a barrier of the oath and how to overcome it. I mentioned that. So these things are clear. Another point concerning maslaha and mafsadah, they think there's gaps in the Sharia. They need to introduce the basic ruling of permissibility. Everything which is not clearly haram or wajib is permissible. Now, which you choose and so on, based on your judgment and based on shura, consultation, that's all within the reach. But you cannot choose something which is connected necessarily by doing haram, claiming because there's a maslaha. It cannot be, because you are breaking the red line. The only way you can do a haram is being under duress, real duress, with the exception by Sharia. Or you leave a wajib. If you are under duress, you cannot do the wajib. You are unable, or you are under duress, so that you pretend not for example, salah. But it's very unlikely that you will be in the duress that you don't perform salah at all. But maybe you are spying for Muslim entity and for Islam inside a kafir entity, and then there will be no sign in you that you're performing salah. But it's easy to do. You just do salah when the time comes by, for example, moving your eyelids and so on. You don't need to do harakat salah. It's like a state of khawf, state of fear. You do as many harakat, many movements as possible. In that case, you cannot do any one of these things. So you can do it with your head like that, not in your head. Or maybe you're queuing for in the buffet. for sandwich, you do your salah in your heart with your eye movement or with your even mind movement. Nobody can prevent you from that. But openly, you're not doing salah, you are not a Muslim. And so, things like that. But it's an extreme situation. And it's very clear what to do there. Like, for example, there was one gathering an army against Khalid al-Hudhali. And Abdullah ibn Unais, the Sahabi, said to him, Allah, I think I can go and kill him, but for that I have to pretend to be a non-Muslim and walk with him and criticize you. So go ahead and did. So criticizing him and say, Allah is kufr. Said he, go ahead. So he went and said, how can I recognize him? Say, when you see, you remember the devil. He's so with head and hair and so on, most likely like having a haircut like the devil, like these like Mr. T and things like satanic haircuts. And you will immediately, you will get qash'arira, you will get a feeling of creepy. And Abdullah ibn Is said, this is a very strong group because Abdullah is a type who doesn't fear anybody. He does not have fear in his character. So he approached the man and saw him, and he was organizing the army. So I thought, that's the man. Let me pray Dhuhr and Asr quickly with my I nodded with my head and going to them. They said, I heard that you are attacking this Sabi, this one who split his people and splitting other people and so on, called Muhammad. I want to join you to have some ghanima and some booty over there. Welcome. Yeah. And then he walked with him, I don't know, the same day or several days, obviously praying the same way. And then he got an opportunity where there were no forces nearby, and he killed him. But this is clear. We don't need to discuss these things. That's very obvious. No. There's no way for the one who will go for parliament and even rules by kufr and participate in kufr to say, I will get a great again for Muslims. How do you know they are getting to great again? And how do you know that this gain overrides your own kufr? You have to have Sharia evidence. That's simple. And you are not under duress. What we have is just only the case of necessity. Is that a necessity? No. That's it. Simple. That's it.
Okay. Next question. Somebody's asked, any thoughts on Noam Chomsky appearing in the Epstein files? And he was
No, they were discussing something about socialism and things like that. I don't think it, but it shows somehow simple-mindedness and poor judgment of Chomsky. If you read, there's nothing really connected with islands and things like that. Or maybe he thought penetrating, because this thought comes even to many Islamists, penetrating and mixing with the elite, he may bring the message somehow. Yes, you find many Muslim Brotherhood, for example, they approached the Saudis in time past, although they know from their heart that Saudis are not ruling by Islam. I know some of them personally, the Ikhwan. Maybe in the time Abdel Nasser says a necessity because they were being killed and driven out of the country. That may be. But later on, it became like a habit. Now they're with Qatar, because that's the only place they can have refuge, they think. Although they have refuge elsewhere, many other places. It's just poor judgment. I think it's more poor judgment. Unless he's involved in something like that, that will be really catastrophic. Will stain his reputation. But I don't think that. Well, all that he communicated with this guy discussing issues with democracy and things like that, or socialism and things like that. Maybe, I don't know. But you can expect a poor judgment by him. He in that. Because you can smell these people, but they were not in the front. It was not clear in the front that they are like that.
I think it's down to the dates as well, because if it was after he was convicted of being a paedophile, which has happened in about 2019, I think, that's where it starts to become a bit suspicious.
That will be another, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's one of the contentions there. So afterwards,
yeah.
So anyway, so the guy's practically dead now. So
yeah,
I mean, any material he's published publicly, you can evaluate for yourself in terms of in terms of critique of Israel.
No, his material is very good. Even recently, in hospital, when he got the news about what's happening in Gaza and so on, he said there's no solution except to exterminate Israel. Israel is a cancerous satanic entity, must be go. So the man is honest to the same principle, but there will be some, everyone will have poor judgment. And he has no reference, absolute reference frame. I don't know if he's a believer or an atheist. I have no idea.
Another person who had a fantastic response was Noam Chomsky. Sorry, it was Norman Finkelstein. He was asked by somebody to attend, and he said, I'm not going to. He basically berated the person and CC'd the wife of the person sending him the email. So he came out smelling of roses out of that in the Epstein files.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, okay. Another question. All this build up near Iran, will USA do something or just retreat?
We'll discuss. Just go back and listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
It can
be that. It can be this. It can be that. But the build up is continuing, and he may be able to maintain it for several weeks, maybe months. But I don't think Israel can, Netanyahu especially, but Israeli, they cannot tolerate that for much longer because they have to do something about the election coming. Netanyahu is also self-worshipping, besides worshipping obviously this cancerous entity, and there's no way he will be able to win or do anything unless something significant happens to Iran. And the overwhelming majority of the Israelis are obviously satanic, and they would like to have Iran erased from existence if possible. Some of them even say, why don't we use nuclear weapons? So these people are very dangerous. So he has to, in any hope to win the elections and so on and get his way, he has to do that. Yes, so he may be exercise enough pressure on Trump, and it depends upon what Trump ultimately will be a collapse and then attack and so on. Usually they may use the threat that we will use nuclear weapons. Either you go or we use nuclear weapons. And then if you use nuclear weapons, you will be stuck with us. And that's what they did in time of Nixon, for example, in the 73. Yeah. Several times, yeah. They use that threat. But if the president is strong, like Bush the father, he told him in the Gulf War, don't even do anything. And Saddam was intelligent enough at least to know that hammering Israel will be the way he may survive or may gain. And he did indeed do that. And they lost about 1,000 persons, injuries and killed in that. But they did not dare moving 1 centimeter. Told him, if you move, I will abandon you. But that's a different character, different time, different situation. Now the situation different. Now the Chabad Lubavitch and the Zionist oligarchy has penetrated America completely and turned it upside down. Now they are having the final say, and now they feel they're going down. So they will try. You see what they did, for example, TikTok. They bought it which led many Americans, millions, to leave TikTok and go to the new platform of this Australian Palestinian, and so on. So they are desperate now. And if you are desperate, then you may behave irrationally. So let's wait and see. But he can maintain. Usually in Venezuela, he maintained although it was not like this size. The size much bigger. It's bigger Armada. It's bigger. The area is having so many bases. Maybe they have now scaled the numbers. Maybe they reach 70,000. They usually have 20, 30,000 staff. Most of top staff, like pilots, like engineers, like radar operators, but they added more and so on. They are top cream of the army, not just foot soldiers, because they are not thinking about land invasion. They will leave that to the Kurds or some other idiots to do it on their behalf. And this will be a major loss if they go in. But they cannot maintain it forever. But America can maintain it for 3-4 months, can maintain it. But will Netanyahu allow that? And he advanced his travel. Maybe he's also behind this 40 days funeral demonstrations for the so-called martyr of the 8th of January. But this will be 40 days by the 18th or 17th, something like that. And clearly they have some agents, considerable agents inside Iran, and they will be able to move against them. And also they are benefiting from the threat of Trump, and he may move the people if at maximum when these people start demonstration with support of the Mossad, Trump will be then under double pressure because said nobody should be killed. They promised they were about to execute 800. I prevented that, which is a lie, obviously. But still, now he will be under double pressure. Will be in an extremely bad situation to move. Now for the demonstration, not only for the nuclear, not only for the missiles, long-range missiles, will be at loss to get away. Let's wait and see. Let's wait and see.
Okay. Next question. What attributes of Allah must one falsely attribute to an idol or false god for it to become shirk? Clearly, it's not mere existence, as everyone believes idols exist, but believers don't attribute any divine attribute like power, creation, etc. to them. I don't know if it's
Who said that? Who said that?
Yeah.
Read the book of Tawheed. That's the mistake of the Wahabi. We have clarified it so many times.
Just for the sake of brevity.
The idols as a sculpture are irrelevant. They represent some divine entities. Now, what is divine entities? They must have some aspect of divinity, which we listed in Ayat al-Tamanu and so on. Now, you have to go and read. That's not a question you can answer in one line. You expand what divinity is, or divine attributes, or divine action. It's enough if they attribute to them that they can escape from Allah, like jinn, for example. And many people believe that these like not Durga, the other one, Kali, and so on, these are essentially satanic jinn entities originally, and the people wanted to appease them because even Brahma or God cannot control them. That's khalas shirk. That's enough. This is impossible for any created being to escape from Allah's hand or hide from Allah. That's impossible. The moment you attribute that to some entity, you made him divine, sharing in the divinity, which is impossible. That's the shirk. That's it. So what are the various things? That's one of them. Have a power which, at least in one aspect, equal to the word of Allah, even undermining Allah's design. That's enough. Creating independently over even worse, and so on. But even the Christians, they don't attribute that to the sun. The sun is just the tool of creation. It doesn't create independently. So, but you have to read that because there's many aspects there to be read. But definitely not that you can kiss them and hug them. That's the nonsense of the Wahhabi, that they go circumambulating around that. No. What's the belief there? And that even the they say the people, the Badawi and so on in Egypt, they're circumambulating the grave Badawi. So you are circumambulating the Kaaba. Say, no, this is Kaaba is a Qibla. We're circumambulating because we're worshiping Allah. They say, okay, we're circumambulating Al-Badawi is a blessed man. Circumambulating him is honoring him and intending to please Allah. You have to check what's the belief. That's it. But anyway, you have to do some work now. I wonder that maybe there's a new of the Shabab. The book of Tawheed is available in Arabic and in English, so both are available, and the free version even is available. Even the version we have finished, I think 1 or 2 or 3, all of them are now free as a PDF, and the Arabic is all of it is free, available. Go ahead. Okay, next.
Some people are saying that what's your thoughts on the current political situation in Bangladesh, if you have any? And
I have
the
no
potential
idea.
role
No,
of Jamaat Islam.
you are a Bangladeshi, you follow, and you all report to us. You report to us.
What's your thoughts on Jamaat Islami potentially being in power there?
I don't think there will be. But besides, Jamaat Islami is slightly better in matter of their vision and so on than Muslim Brotherhood, but I don't think they developed some sufficiently structured ideology to be. But maybe they will.
I think in Pakistan they've been quite disastrous. I mean, I'm not a Pakistani taxi driver, so I can't really comment on it because apparently a taxi driver knows everything. But I don't think they've really been very impressive in Pakistan. They just become
okay. Hopefully, and let's see when they reach there what they will be doing. What do they understand the Islamic ruling correctly? But also inside this international situation, who is the enemy, who is the friend? It seems to be quite lacking.
No shortcut. Just need to educate people, I guess.
Okay. Let them educate the people. Let them put something on Islamic agenda on the table. Put things like that.
Next question. I've already answered it on the chat, but it's quite persistent. How can the growing number of Iraqi, Syrian, and Libyan Sunnis moving towards Wahhabism be saved from this anti-fiqh doctrine?
By education.
Exactly what I said. Educate, propagate.
Spread our books. If you see a video there, someone blubbering this nonsense, tell me this is nonsense. Is refuted by Dr. Mas'ali. This is the link. Or you can comment it differently. Oh, I don't know if you are telling the truth or not, but someone is arguing opposite to you. Check this one. Do it. Be dynamical. Do something.
Also, I'm assuming they all know Arabic because you said Iraq, Libya, and Syria. There's an entire Arabic channel of the professor. So this is just the English side of things, and which has been taken down. So the Arabic's still up.
That's absolutely, that's it. Obviously, this would you need more effort. And if you, for example, a person who is like central for them, there are few who are regarded as idols. They refer to them. You don't just see the video one time and just paste something like that. Next week you paste another one. Next week and so on. They repeat the first pasting after some time and so on. So the reader will be forced. Some of the reader, maybe 2% at the beginning, 1% will go, oh, let's see, this odd guy. Some people do not know that we exist in the first place. And some know what they have heard, oh, this is deviant and so on. And some say that, so they have to. And then we have also, you can put the links of our response to Faris al-Himar, all these guys. This is all not correct as stated. There are many details to be clarified. Look at this video or this response to this man. And also some of these idols who are taking the platform, if you find some videos of them or something or pamphlets, because they have no more than pamphlets, just get it to us so we can refute it and make videos against it. It has to be interactive, my brother. We are in the field. We are in the field. The only way is to revive the critical thinking of the Ummah and clean Islamic. Even part of it will be removing the holiness of Islamic history. No, there's no holiness in the history. Only the time of Prophet is having a holiness in the sense that's the normative time. And the Khulafa al-Rashidin, yes, to a greater extent, with errors here and there. And after that, it is downhill, especially in government and society. And the popular level and so on, it's just basic individual Islam. If you see that from history correctly, then you wake up to many things and you wake the people to that. But we have various videos in that. So you have to do some work. You have to do some legwork to educate yourself first and then start educating the people.
So another thing, you got to. This is so funny because sometimes whenever you see Salafis, what they tend to think is they have a pure understanding, etc., and then they sometimes refer to their successors. So if you think about it, you just pick up a history book. They've undermined themselves because they were in obscurity many in earlier Islamic movements. Mm-hmm. So were they battled for nearly a millennia? Were they battled by their own standards? They would have been battled. So not the haqq. All that's happened is that they've had a boost from Saudi petrodollars. That's it.
And now partly from Emirates and so on.
Which is why, because it's very convenient. So if you look at the Madkhali strand, it's because I've used this before. The brilliant Dr. Shadi al-Masri had a really humorous skit. He said, if I ever become a ruler, I'll phone up Saudi and say, "Oi, where can I get some of those Madkhalis?" It's really quite convenient. Mm-hmm. Hilarious. I can't do justice to his level of humor there, but that's the thing. It's entirely weaponized. The entire Madkhali movement. And what does the Madkhali movement rely on? So look, what can I do? What can somebody else do? We are just a couple of people. What you can do is, inshallah, when the channel's back up, when we've got the contact back up, is to undermine their arguments. So, for example, when they reference this hadith about the necks of standard stuff about whipping the back, we provide the material which goes through stronger, supported mutawatir hadith, which undermine what they say. They'll refer to a single isnad, which is broken, and they'll make that into qati. Then their actual prophet, metaphorically speaking, Ahmad bin Hanbal. They ignore the Prophet ﷺ and they go to him, which is a bit as if only he can have the understanding.
Mm-hmm,
That needs to be destroyed. That needs to be semtex. That needs to be destroyed. No, it's not. What do you mean? It's just, there's so many of them. So, for example, don't even sit with the Muqtadi, because that's another way of closing down discussion. So our prophet can speak with Abu Jahl. Our prophet can speak with Abu Jahl. But now you're here in the 21st century saying, no, you can't even speak to what we call is a mubtadi.
No,
And so you can't even discuss. So somebody's coming to you who's you call a mubtadi and saying, I have this evidence. No, I'm not even speak to you. Like putting your ears in your.
I'm answering specific points. Generally, the one asking like that and so on seems to be has not read our books or not following them. If you see a video, something you think is confusing, a point they're mentioning is confusing for some reason, give it to us and then we can discuss it and then clarify it further, because we didn't say that what we offered on the table is all clear for everyone. Some it is a bit deep, need maybe fleshed out, and some need to be concentrated and so on. So that's the interaction process. They say things like that. Give me an answer. I didn't know how to answer it. And I will tell you, you started assuming that they are telling the truth about this and this and this, which is not true. Go here. Let's see. Yeah, for example. Then we give more structured things, but it has to be see what's being said and how it is presented. Bring that to our attention, because we cannot see all videos, we cannot follow all what they say, or sometimes in their, especially the Madkhali usually refers to some Saudi scholars who have some interviews, and then the interview goes like that. Sheikh, may Allah be beautiful, be good to you. Some people say this and this and this. I say, oh, this is nonsense and so on. And sometimes they commit blunders, like to say, some people say, someone asks a follow-up question. Some people say this nuzul coming, Allah coming at last third of the night to the Sama Dunya is metaphorical, because any part of the earth in the last third of the night is in some part of the earth having the last third of the night always. So if it is not here last third, maybe the opposite side in Japan is the last third. So he must be continuously down. So it might mean it's coming close to those who are praying in that time. That's mean there's no up and down. And because the earth is rotating, as I said, who told you that the earth rotates? So he scandalized himself, burned himself, alhamdulillah. For example, just catch these. Do some legwork. We cannot do everything for you. We have milked considerable, put the milk in bottles. Now we have to drink and give the other people from the milk. You can't go say, oh, I'm thirsty, I'm going to the milk. Someone milk for me. You can milk by yourself. You know how the cow to milk the cow. That is a metaphoric. Quran Sunnah is really milk-giving, life-giving text. If you see how we argue and how we discuss, then you know, I know how to do that. Let me go and do similar. It's very simple. It's easy to smash. Completely easy.
Okay, bro, far away, inshallah. Elaborate on this as you feel. Can you hear us?
Yes, assalamu alaikum. I'll just
get closer
Can you
to the
hear
mic
me?
and speak loud.
Yeah, we're hearing you. Yeah, go ahead.
Can you hear me again?
We're hearing you. Go ahead.
Yeah, so I was just gonna share my general observation in those particular countries, especially Syria and Libya. So obviously we're here far away. We can just observe and not really affect them. But you can see clearly from day one when Syria was liberated on December 8th, as soon as that happened, you had so many Salafi scholars from Idlib, and they moved into the mosques with their halakas immediately. And the population there have been taken in for a ride. So, the savior mentality, and they have been taken away with this savior mentality. They are the ones who have liberated us. So this is going to be the default doctrine, the true doctrine, Salaf al-Salihin. And so that is the true Islam. And so they're really, converting into this movement with dramatic speed. And the
Are you sure about this in Syria?
does not have.
Are you sure about this in Syria? Do you have
Yeah,
connection
I'm
to Syria?
definitely sure.
So you've got connection to Syria?
Yeah, maybe you could
Because my
say,
in-laws are Syrian, and
on
they're
the-
quite classical Sufi, quite classical Shafi Syrian type
Oh,
of.
yes, no doubt about the other end of the spectrum, but this spectrum seems to be
You are upset about something. Good. You see it like this, because the one in the regime is originally from Daesh. Then he changed the clothing and attributed himself to to Al-Qaeda, that's Nusra, it's not Daesh, it's anti-Daesh allegedly. Then he became liberal and the influence or pretended to be liberal with the gun, that's all fine. But clearly he's fighting other points of view inside Idlib. Hizb ut-Tahrir persons are incarcerated and so on. And around him are usually people who are not well educated. As usual, most jihadi are not educated. They have some slogans and so on. And then when he came to power, he to give himself Islamic credential, he must have met someone to do. And then the Salafi said, now we have to pay us back because we supported you. Saudi Arabia supported you. This stuff. And then he opened that for them. One day maybe he turned against them, but that's what's happening. Now the question, that they invading the masajid and so on, because the one in power is allowing that, not because they have a better argument, but since the general public is low level of education, they may have an influence. But you
yes, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but you're seeing that they are going to the masajid. Don't mean, for example, King Abdulaziz by British permission invaded Hijaz, took it, okay, and then started spreading the Salafi madhab. If you check the Hijaz, you know, still the majority are not neither Hanbali nor Salafi. They may pretend in school and so on, but they still mock the Hanbali and they still insist that they do the Mawlid, the Nabawi and things like that. And the fight is going now for 70 years. So don't be fooled by the appearance. But unfortunately, the fight in Hijaz is going between some Sufi and some simple-minded Maliki and things like that. With that, nobody went to the deep roots except Hassan Maliki, who came recently. The movement is starting to get bit by bit by bit. So that's it. We want that to be faster. So the way is that we get our videos, I will say, to someone who have the courage to go there and speak. By the way, some part of the Jolani's HTC, Hayat Tahrir al-Sham, some part are in contact with us and they are trying to spread the books and so on. It is working.
As long as there's like multiple spectrums of people over there who
don't worry, you are talking philosophically. You think this is wrong, do the right thing. That's it.
That's the situation with the youth there. Their brains are like sponge.
Brother, let's be honest.
Brother, you are diagnosing the situation. But situation diagnostic is clear that they are having, the regime is opening their gateway and these guys are taking advantage of it. But we know that they have fallacies based on a well-established evidence of Quran Sunnah, but I was not presented correctly because the anti-Wahabi movements in the 18th century, 19th century, they relied on classical arguments and taqleed. You will never be defeat this guy this way. You have to go to the root and then you put them in the corner. To go into the root, we have the material. Now we have to get people to adopt it, and some people who have the courage and go to the masjid and have counter movement or counter leaflet and things like that. That's it. Life is a struggle.
Also, it's nothing to be despaired about. I mean, look, everything from this moment on is an improvement from the kafir, shaitan, secular dog, Bashar al-Assad, who would... The stuff he did was, it's beggars belief.
Actually, his narrative that he put it into the people over there.
Which is bullshit. Which is bullshit. Which, let's cut to the chase. It was bullshit.
Yeah, exactly.
It was bullshit.
He used to say the Salafism is attacking you.
No, he said
it's
bullshit.
Coming for you. So the Syrians going in opposite direction.
We know all of that. Now some phenomenon is happening which we are unhappy about it for good reasons. Then we see how we counter it. By the way, this way, because the majority of the common Syrian were actually Sufi, Shafi'i mainly. What's the main madhab in Syria?
Mostly Shafi'i.
Shafi'i and Hanafi. Okay, they were just simple people. These people come and bring another point of view, Hanbali and so on. And there will be conflicts. In the interaction between the two, obviously the people are now just breathing that Assad is gone and they are happy with the situation. Don't think that these people will influence them, but they will open some issues. See the gaps, see the response of others. Some of the classical scholars, local, Sufi, they may respond. See the response.
Until now, there has not been an intellectual space. So the people are just...
No, it is there, but the people are not daring. That's it. The Sufi, they are not daring. They go to the masjid, say, no, what he's saying is not correct because of this and this and this.
I mean, I'm not entirely sure because
if you know someone who can stand there and say, like for example, inside Daesh, let me tell you what happened. In Daesh itself, inside Daesh, many of the Shabab received our books by email, by anything like that. And they discussed between themselves and found it sound. So they approached their leadership that's simple-minded. That's the problem. Simple-mindedness. Saying this is a valid point of view. We have to discuss it. So some of them were apprehended, some were sent for suicidal operation, and the rest were imprisoned. Inside Daesh, it goes there. You see only the external form. You don't see what's going inside.
Are you familiar with the Ghubaisi group? Are you familiar
Honestly,
with it?
I've seen their popular base of Jordani. So their people over there have this Arab chauvinism a lot and with sectarian rhetoric. It's all
It doesn't matter. We have to counteract it.
I think it's,
How to counteract it?
but are you familiar with the society of Syria? Because there is.
Are you in Syria? Are you a Syrian?
Yes,
or
I'm
you here from?
definitely.
Sorry, are you Syrian? You're not Syrian?
No, I'm not. Definitely not Syrian.
Yeah, but what I'm saying, if you look at Syrians, they have deep scholarship there as well. They're not going to have it because a Wahabi can go to Najd,
But I'm
because they're
looking through
idiots
the
around
youth's
them. They can
lens.
easily win over the discussion. You discuss with a Syrian who's knowledgeable, and they have al-Khatib. Look at Ghubaisi. I've got books here. My wife's got books here of an entire Sirah book, massive, hugely detailed, done by Ghubaisi. That's just the women's group that were allowed to operate. They're classical Shafi. There's knowledge out there. You got Hali al-Khattab. You got all these various masajids and stuff. So if there is going to be interaction, there's going to be a dialectic there, because you're going to have you're having knowledgeable people there.
Exactly.
And also, maybe as somebody who's maybe quite young and seeing, being inundated by seeing, imagine the research on Wahhabism, we've seen it for decades now, and we've seen it fizzle out. We've seen it every so often. So look, if anything, firstly, it's an improvement on Bashar the scum. Secondly,
Of course.
ideas in a place where there is at least classical and deep understanding of, maybe not politically as deep, but there is a strong understanding on the Ash'ari point of view on the Syrian side. Then the Wahhabis won't necessarily have a easy way of it. Plus, if it's the youth maybe because no male group could operate in Syria. There was no, like my in-laws are all Syrians. My wife's family are quite close to Ghubaisi. Only Ghubaisi could operate. The men could not. Some of the in-laws were imams and khatibs, etc., etc. They couldn't even teach Sharia. They couldn't teach anything. They could only teach hadith and Quran. Not even. I don't even think they could do tafsir. So men could not operate. But there is deep knowledge there. So if they have this opportunity to go toe to toe, then it's not going to be an easy ride for them.
If that's what you're saying is true, the situation, you know the situation better than myself.
I'm just historically, in terms of the classical knowledge out there.
Still, this is no. The classical, we have to approach the classical to energize them and bring them up to modern scholarship, because the classical sometimes are stuck with old scholarship, which some of it is defunct and some of it is surrendering to the rulers. That's the main problem. That's the main problem through history.
I mean, with Hafiz al-Assad, they all had a strong hatred of him. That's why, for example, they're very diplomatic. Even with Giftaro and with what's his name, Bouti, they were dubious of him. They didn't.
There's an interesting observation. There are people back then when they used to hear Bashar's anti-Salafi rhetoric. So there's this reverse migration because of that. Because Bashar said.
I think you might be overgeneralizing. I think you might be overgeneralizing, because there's a problem.
There are two problems here between both of you. You are analyzing the situation as if you are writing a PhD about the history of da'wah in Syria. That's fine if you're making a PhD. You don't need to go to that extent. Now, with their point of view, the classical point of view is by itself handicapped by obedience to the rulers and so on, by these things. No, we have to understand.
It's subtle and it's getting there.
And we have to apologize. For them, the cure will be like, for example, a book like Mahajawat al-Hukam. They don't have very much problem of Tawheed. They agree with that with some fundamentals, essentially, because they are Shafi, they are Ash'ari and Maturidi. We don't have very much of difference there, except some. There's a major point about Qadar, but leave that aside. Let's just about managing life and so on. The Salafi are having a problem with that. They are also submission to the ruler and so on. And they have, in Arabia, they have been exposed. In Emirates, they have been exposed. The people can see from far away that they are government agent. And Hizb al-Nur in Egypt, which started maybe as Salafi movement quite independently, has banned itself by their stand with Morsi, against Morsi, and with this so they're banning themselves, but that process, we don't want it to take a decade. We want it to be in years. So how to do an input there. That's the point. But that's it.
But the youth still see there's these two factions.
Let them see whatever we do.
They don't see it as a major problem. They see it as two factions: the evil Salafis and the good ones. The evil being in the
doesn't matter. But these two factions will rub each other, and then since now the government can't claim to be Islamic 100%, they have to hedge with the West to have a relation with Israel. You have a weak point there, and then you can make cracks in both sides and bring them the better way point of view, the synchronized one forward. That's the way to go. It's another way. That's it.
You know, I have hope in them because there's a lot of good signs of all of what you're saying, but there's still a lot of media propagation, a lot of
no doubt about that. No, but the enemy will be propagate, and especially those who are willing to be agents of the West. In the case of Shara, we don't know if it's doing that because as a opportunism and under duress or not, but irrelevant of that. So far, he is now a proxy of America and Israel. There's no doubt about that. And this will be his undoing. That's the reason he's opening this and trying to do some cosmetic things. Like recently, there was discussion about allowing women to work in the government, not allowing them if they have makeup or something. So they go to trivial points to divert the people's attention and things like that. And with these, Shara is very intelligent. With these trivial points, the classical one and the Wahabi will essentially agree. So he's playing both wings. Anyway, we have to do the work and specific issues, not the general analysis of the area and the history. That will be a PhD in Da'wah in Syria under the Assad regime or under the Ba'ath regime until the Ba'ath regime was toppled. That's a good PhD, yes. But this will not help you. This knowing what has been happening there may help you on seeing how to break there. But the only way to break is to destroy these ideas which become incapacitated the Ummah. Even the classical come.
Yeah. The last thing I'm going to say is the general youth is drawing away from the Sufi Ash'ari scholarship because their media inactivity is abhorrent.
So speak to this scholarship. So you are losing to the Wahabi and you have a better point of view, but you are not able to do anything. And or join, modernize your message is Tajdeed, for example. Adopt some of it at least, not all of it. Do something. Nothing can be done.
The youth see them as the clergy of Bashar, the Sufi Ash'ari.
Yeah, whatever it is.
There were plenty Sufi Ash'ari who were imprisoned, who
we know that, but the youth don't see that.
I don't know which youth you're speaking to anyway. I mean, many people had to leave. So most of my in-laws had to leave. Mixture of Cairo, Turkey.
Let's things develop. This will influence the world by being positive. If the situation is bad, according to you, how to improve it? The only way what we have is the only bring the power of intellectualism in the field. Yeah, so if we can get people to adopt these ideas,
I'm also seeing hope there also.
So I don't know about that.
Look. Fundamentally, look. We've all lived through roller coasters. We've all lived through the thought that, okay, America's coming to Iraq. They're going to get pasted. And then America outmaneuvered the Muslims. We've all lived through every kind of ups and downs, left and right, back and front, you can imagine. Living through Algeria, where Muslims wanted Islam and they were usurped by the same kind of Takfiri movements who killed the people who were Salafi lights. So the people, actual genuine Salafis.
There are people with the intelligence, the French and the gene intelligence, and so on.
So look. So we've all lived through this. And we recognize that there is limited agency we have. We don't control the long-term vision. All we can do is small steps. We just do those steps. Yeah. Just do those. Like for example, we lost our whole channel. For me, it's just do the steps. We can just sit here and say, okay, this door's been closed. Another door will open. Just do the steps. We're not the ones who are in the driving seat. Allah is driving everything, and things will happen according to His plan. All we can do is do our actions and not despair. So, for example, here's an example. There's some very good Salafis out there. Sometimes we berate, we go overboard. So there's, for example, excellent Salafi people out there like Ustad Ibn Abu Taymiyyah. We may disagree with him in certain areas, or somebody else who's identified, from the Salafi background, but is fantastic. I mean, I can't even stress how much of an impact he's had.
I totally recognize them.
Sorry?
I totally recognize them.
Yeah. So, for example, take in the UK, Sheikh Haytham Hadani. He's absolutely brilliant, mashallah. We disagree on the issue of voting, etc. but there's no denying the amount of impact he's had in the UK, and for a positive. So someone from a Salafi background being a unifying force, having excellent relationships with all the Sufis, the whole gambit of Muslims, recognizing the bigger picture. So even you can even something like that, someone like that can emerge. For he comes from Muntada, and again, Allah preserve this brother. He's done so much good that alhamdulillah, man.
Yeah.
We're blessed to be around people like that. So it's all to play
Same,
for.
we'll get to Syria also in that direction, inshallah. But we have to contact them. They have to contact us, and so on. This will develop, inshallah. Don't
And
worry.
also the other thing is very, very important. We have such an important position in the UK. The amount of take, for example, Thinking Muslim. It's being translated into other languages because it's having so much impact. These ideas, you've got Ummatics Forum, you've got so much happening just in the West because look, we have the ability to speak, even though doors are closing, etc. They cannot stop the momentum of the of ideas. They
Yeah,
can't
but that's
stop.
in the English medium.
But even the English media can translate over there. You got these ideas they cross borders, and the professors broadcast in Arabic. So
Yeah.
the doc's not really known as much.
Oh no,
in the
we
West.
have many people following. By the way, we have tens of thousands following, but they are under the
So if for example you know Arabic, I mean look, there's nothing stopping you from getting a TikTok account and propagating in Arabic. What's stopping you? I'm probably the ugliest person on YouTube. I sometimes go on camera. I usually save people the burden. We have so what's stopping if you know Arabic? Obviously, I'm assuming you know Arabic because of you're familiar with what's happening there. Get on the mic and discuss this stuff. If
Yeah.
you have engagements, for example, if you start up an up scroll and you start discussing this stuff, and then you have questions, come back and engage the questions and refer them to the Arabic material. There's nothing. So what they're going to have, they're going to have the standard Allah has a hand, mubtadi, this, that, so forth. All this stuff has been answered like
Yeah,
100
this
times
is
over.
nobody's putting that. The Madkhali now talking about obedience to the rulers and so on. Treaties with the kuffar is like the Hudaybiyah treaties. That's what Allah had a hand and so on. This is not on the table anymore.
I mean, what we say for the self-aggrandizing type of people in terms of like because someone like Jake Brankatelli, for him, this is an important issue because he's falling into that sort of crowd of this akida. If that's the case, if it's obeying the rulers, that's been done like 100 times and it's been destroyed. So they come up with a hadith, they come up with a new hadith, for example, or something, or a new spin on a hadith. Bring it forward. It's like they say this. A journey of a 1,000 miles starts with a single step. Make that step. So for you, a person who has this, the fact that you've got a mic, it shows that you feel the problem. We used to call it feeling the problem of the ummah.
Yeah.
So if you feel the problem of the ummah, take action. If you feel the problem and you don't take action, that means you don't actually feel the problem. So let that spur you to act. You've got Burhat, a brother who does countless videos. He gets on the camera.
Yeah,
he has
his
so little
videos have
time.
been exceptional.
Sorry? Yeah,
His
alhamdulillah.
videos
See?
have been exceptional.
And you know what? You know his background is? He's
Wow.
from a Reva. He's a Reva family. And if you
MashaAllah.
knew how little time he has and how much constraints he has, you'd be like, wow, he manages to pull that off despite having these many constraints, working all these hours that he has to do.
Yeah.
So little in terms of resource, and he got ahead and did it. He just picked up his phone and just did it.
The Muslims think that, oh, great sheikh, he must have like a magic wand, for example. They think even sometimes the Prophet like that, like a man complained to us that his wife is grown up in Jahiliyyah, and the woman before Islam, and even after Islam, but before Islam, they were loose in the sense that you can pinch them, they pinch you back, and so on, like in the West, touching the shoulder, so it's not a problem. And he complained all the time. My wife does not retain the hand of any lambs. If someone fishes hand to pinch her, like in the habit they have this since their childhood. And what I'm supposed to do? See, if you cannot tolerate that, because what is being done is not haram. It's clearly is not haram. If it would have haram, say no, tell her it's haram. But it's clearly not haram. But he could not tolerate it because of jealousy, because whatever. See, if you cannot tolerate that, let's discuss with her, and if he doesn't comply, طلقها, divorce her. Say, but I cannot live without her. And I said, what do you expect? They don't say that from delicacy. Then enjoy her and they have to obviously put yourself under pressure. That's it. Maybe he thinks the Messenger of Allah will make a da'wah or dua or something. That's not the Messenger of Allah function, to make dua for your wife, to become less lenient in matter of preaching and touching the shoulder or something like that. For example, but the same here. You're describing the situation as if Al-Mas'ali will have a wajik one to solve it. No, the situation is like that. What can I do that to improve it? But see where is the right and the wrong, what really, and maybe even the Salafi invasion may have some positive aspects, like, for example, the one or two good aspects of the movement of Al-Wahhab. One aspect is that they claim, and in some part they go back to Quran and Sunnah. That's their tool. In a time where people were muqallidin, they don't know about Quran Sunnah, they don't know how to go to Quran. If says no, you have to ask a scholar. They open this ignorantly, shallow thinking, but still open that, which caused the other side major headache and forced them to review their situation and improve their fiqh. That's part. That's one. And secondly, which went to another extreme, the bad way, is that they were unwilling to cooperate with the kuffar. Although they declared some Muslims to be kuffar wrongly, but no cooperation with the kuffar. Hostility, war. They went to the extreme that the main kufr is that just kufr is the reason for fight, which is a mistake. It has to be corrected. And then you have the jihadi movement coming from this part, this angle. So if you look at that, these are good aspects you can expand and correct. You have a sharp sword, but it's two-edged sword which can go back to you. Make it only one-edged sword, going only to the enemy. That's a matter of jihad. Jihad is only against who is a hostile, who is starting to wage war. Is never initiated, and that will make jihad then become rational, become effective, and revive the ummah. And we have books in that, for example, fighting resisting group and things like that, which will make the assassin that kufr is not, has nothing to do with bloodshed or not. Bloodshed is connected with aggression and certain transgressions specified by Sharia. That's in this fighting resisting groups and so on. So, side they excel in, allying to the kuffar and rejecting of that, even if they apply it wrongly to Muslims, declare them to kuffar, but the theory itself is having good roots, but need to be polished and developed correctly. We have for that the book about Mu'ala and Mu'adat, in which I respond to them. And we have the other side, which is loose, like the Madhabi and the Qaradawi in the book about the alliance with the Kufa, about Mu'ala and Mu'ada. I respond to many of his fatwas and show how ignorant he is about these points. So this is a good corrective. Correction here. And there's respond to them. Like, for example, they regard smiling in the face of a kafir is a type of mu'ala. Has nothing to do with mu'ala. It's utter nonsense, for example. Both are attacked here. So we did from those two extreme point of views, extremely hostile and bloodthirsty, to extremely lenient, even to the level that there's some mu'ala is okay and nice. Obviously, maybe I'm not insulting his intention. He may have his best intention, but that's the way he thinks. This way he justified the base maybe in Qatar, maybe because he was there under the Qatari. But assume he is sincerely thinking that. From a clash with the two, we developed a well-developed theory which nobody can deny its probableness, and going to back and Quran and Sunnah. Not what this X said and Y said and so on. And whatever X and said right from the classical scholars, we analyze it, say this part is correct because of this, because of this ayah. And so let's be positive, do that job. That's what I'm saying. The diagnosis is more, continue in the diagnosis if you're going to write a master or PCTs and all. That's good. History, record history, no problem. But now what to do now? Because we are not talking not as historian or academician, we are talking as now activists, who, according to Hizb al-Tajdeed, is to the mission is to revive the ummah and bring its authority, full authority, back in its hand. Take it away from rulers, from invaders, from everyone, and the authority will be to the ummah, and revive that. And that revival needs polishing the understanding and seeing where you fit in the world properly. Yeah, things like that. I advise to be positive. Okay.
Someone's just asked about futures trading. I know you've answered it before. If you're able to, I know it's going to be a while before we resurrect all the previous Q&As. You able to answer? What's your thoughts on futures trading?
We said that so many times.
I know.
Look, if it doesn't have any usury aspects, you see what the contract says, etc. If it doesn't have any usury aspect in it, then I don't see there's any problem because you have Saddam, but Saddam is restricted according to the classics in for goods which can be measured in by volume and so on, like wheat, barley, and things like that. But there's nothing will prevent that from extending to any goods like this type. And this will be done. But there's a condition for Saddam. Check in the book of the fiqh. That's it. And ask also, brothers, there's Islamic banking. They are doing now for 40 years some trading, possibly futures, but they're not futures, and they have fatwas and details of that, and details of the contract. Check that. We cannot do all the work. People did some good work in many areas, like the brother who asked earlier about fidya and so on. Check the book of fiqh and verify that. If the two descending point of view and you cannot settle them, check what ask the one who giving this fatwa. Which book or which madhab you are following in that? What is the main book of that who discuss these things in detail? I will go and read it. And the same here. Yeah. Because this had been, because there was Islamic banking now for almost 50 years now, almost, or less than 50 years. And they have gone through all of these things, all questions, all details, in much more detail. They go and study it. Because some of these are very complex contracts, and you have to read every part of the contract, see how they fit together. If there's anything related to debts and selling debts and so on, this is haram. The question, what is it? Not all futures are the same. Okay.
Okay. Any more questions? And anyone can always unmute if they like. Oh, yes, an interesting one. Do you think we're heading towards an economic recession like that of 2008 or worse? It does seem quite.
I think it's worse. It will be. It'll be. I think it'll be. Luckily for the West, mostly, will be catastrophic. Yeah, for America, I think catastrophic. I think they will not be able to manage the debt issue, and I think there's these tariffs will backfire now badly. And, everything is pointing towards severe conflicts internally there and possibly a civil war.
Yeah, I mean, even on the subject of debt resurfacing, I can't remember. I've watched lots of videos, and one of the comments was, if debt resurfacing exceeds the military expenditure, that's an indicator of decline.
Yeah, absolutely. Even any debt is at the beginning of a catastrophe. The moment you get used to that, but the whole system, capitalist system by itself, is built on debt, especially in the 300-400 years past. Their economy, their taxation system, it encourages debts and discourages investing capital. Investment is very restricted on that side, and debt is encouraged. And debt meaning you are borrowing for the future, you're putting things for the future generation. And ultimately, after 3 generations, it accumulates so much that you have to have a crash. They succeed in delaying the crash, which was due, like the so-called Qaddafi cycle is about, I think, every 60 years or something, or 40 years, 45 years. There's 2 generations roughly. They succeed delaying it because the United States of America Nixon made the step that the only way is to run away from the collapse, is to disconnect the dollar from the gold. And to prevent anyone from playing games with that and pushing America out of the control of the financial system, is the agreement with the Saudis, who are a major oil producer, that they will not sell and trade oil except in US dollars. That's the only way. Anyone jumping out of the line, the Saudis will hammer him by overproduction until he goes bankrupt. That's it. That delayed things another 40, 50 years, but we are now there. All the delay cannot. The first portion was in 2008, but there's another portion still coming. It's not feasible. Or America declares default, and this will be having other catastrophic. Nobody will be able to go and fight and take the money by force, but they will have another catastrophic results, and we'll have then repercussions against repercussions and so on. Especially if the so-called derivatives, like futures on futures, options on futures, or option on option, or if that starts collapsing. But there's a quadrillions of that. The real money behind that is maybe only a few hundred trillions. So it's 4, 5, 6 times. That cannot be sustained unless the debt serves. If not, then start crashing, top, and banks start crashing, one after the other.
cascading. I mean, you've been mentioning this for some time now in terms of the crash.
Yeah.
So the brother, you can unmute if you want
By manipulating or printing the dollar and controlling the whole world with the dollar and so on, they succeed in delaying it. But the more you delay it, when it crashes, it becomes in a catastrophic way. It will be worse than 1929, which is like a model of a major crash. But it will be like that or worse.
The following question: what do you think we can do? Invest in metals, cash? What do you do?
Study these things. There are many metals. Obviously, will be real estate and so on. But not everyone will be able to do that and so on.
Oh, real estate is going to will be impacted as well.
Yeah.
If anything, you'd want to buy real estate with something with a commodity which isn't as. Even the stock market's going to be. To be honest, it's going to be, if it does crash, everyone, unless you're a trillionaire, is going to be a billionaire, going to be affected. So
absolutely.
At least we're going to
these will be affected, but they will go from 100, 200 billions maybe to 10, 50. So they will be smashed nicely, but still they will have still the billions and so on. They will still go. They have plenty of their assets in real estate, and they have plenty of it in gold and silver. And as I heard recently, they are going to copper also and so on. Small investors having a problem. Either you buy it in the custody of another company, Allah Alam how reliable they are, or you put in a bank safe, but you don't know how much, if you can access, because if the bank is closed, you cannot access the safe. But if you have a big amount, then you can do it. For example, there are storage companies in Switzerland. They store it inside the mountains, so it's safe even for nuclear war, if anyone remains alive for the nuclear war. But the problem is that the storage cost and so on. And all these things, the issue for the taxation and all of these things. So it's a very messy situation. So the best thing is just try to get the maximum you can in your own real estate, your own house, at least. But anyway, nothing can be done about that. We are not an investment advisory, so check all kinds of Telegram channels and videos and things like that. And use your brain. But the situation is ominous with the state services and so on. Now, what Trump did recently with these sanctions and excessive sanction and these excessive tariffs will decrease the people's appetite for the American bonds and gilts and things like that. The result is that he cannot service the debt. So either he declares moratorium, no, not going to pay you, and then nobody will buy anymore, and they should just things start to crash, or because nobody will be able to invade America and take it by force. In time past, a major power giving you you are in debt to them, they will come and take your country, like what the British did to Egypt and so on, benefiting from the mistakes done by the regime in digging the Suez Canal. So they was stuck in debts, and the result is that pay, we can't pay. We put our hand with the canal, and then Egypt, all of it. So anyway, this is for that. Look at investment advice and various direction. People who advocate metals, people who advocate stocks, bonds, and so on. Bonds is out of question because it's a debt instrument, and this selling and buying them is haram anyway. So that's out of question. Besides, they will crash also, so it will be nonsensical. But check these various things. You have to do some legwork, especially if it's your money.
So would you advise just get tangible assets and get rid of cash and all that?
If you can, naturally, but it's not easy as you think. If you can.
Also depends on which country you're living in as well. So for example, some countries there.
What do you see about cryptocurrency's future?
Cryptocurrency is good also, but now it's still people didn't have enough trust. But if the crash comes and it shows that it has intrinsic value like Bitcoin, it will stabilize and start increasing. So Bitcoin is also a good investment. Although it's now correcting, we don't know. I wouldn't buy now. Wait a few months to see when the debt service, what happens and so on. And then we see what will happen.
People are starting to question Bitcoin as they see connections with Epstein.
Not really. He invested. There wasn't like he was Satoshi or anything. It doesn't seem to be a smoking gun there. Plus, even if whoever's behind it, the source code is all public. And the mechanism to try and circumvent it requires half the processing power of the entire blockchain.
Mhm.
You're talking about, unless it's quantum, you've got quantum computing, which they're going to eventually make it quantum resistant.
Mhm.
You can't circumvent it. So
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
a person understands the concept of Bitcoin, then this isn't necessarily
It's not
an issue.
feasible. The only problem is that the quantum, but it doesn't even need a hard fork. It's just a soft core fork, update of the software, essentially. So it will not split in Bitcoin Cash and so on. It will be the same Bitcoin, but it needs a software update. And I think some people are working on it now because there's the information coming from China and from Google and so on that they are advancing quite considerably in matter of quantum computing. And then there will be the current system can become vulnerable. But it can be improved and become like quantum resistant. So that's how. But anyway, I think it should not be becoming an investment advisory. Check there is platforms for investment, there is newspaper and so on. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I think we're finished or still. What's the time now?
1 second. Sorry. The time is 3:28. So
let's have one question at least or something.
How do you manage? Oh, sorry. This might be an interesting one, actually. Bear with me. So I might have missed it earlier. Okay. Sorry. So this was missed though. How do we manage cases similar to Epstein files in the Muslim community? For example, individuals who are seen as scholars, imams, and information has come to light that they have sexually abused children and abused their positions. Should they be sidelined or ousted by the community? This has become quite common among some of the well-known intellect so-called scholars. Just to put context, one scumbag was found to have abused an 8-year-old child. This is famous. He was with an institute, and he was actually on TV a few times as well.
Okay, so what's the question?
What do you do with these kind of cases?
You are not in a domain which applies Islam, so you have to do it within the frame. But at least as a community, this institution is financed by funds or by Muslims and so on. Just tell him get the hell out of here. And if he's an imam, he should be checked out. Simple.
And expose what he's done.
And expose also, yeah.
I mean, if it was down to my nafs,
if necessary, but if it can be done, just get out.
No, but the thing is, some of these bastards, they choose these professions to get closer to their targets.
I agree. They will be there. So
what I'm saying, there is a requirement to make it really public.
Smell that area, just confront them. People who detect that, come to them and get them out. If you don't go out, it will scandalize you.
No, don't scandalize them anyway. You should do, because Sheikh, this bastard will go to another place.
No. In that case, and don't go anywhere and try to all come. It will have to come public.
Yeah.
You will write to other messages.
Also, just for the record, if it was down to my nafs, that bastard would only know pain for his miserable existence left on planet Earth, as I will demolish him. But unfortunately, it's not down to my nafs.
Yeah, okay.
Because these guys are scum. And if anyone defends these kind of people, because I'm going to have a rant again. In the Pakistani community, doing haram is not the biggest problem amongst these closet idiots. Some of these closet idiots. It's being seen to be doing something is haram, is the ultimate kufr, because it's a ridiculous creed. It's a nifaq-laden point of view whereby how people perceive you is worse. So when this type of stuff happens, they hide it. So any inbreds out there, any inbred village idiots out there, if you suppress this kind of stuff, you're part of the problem.
Oh yeah, definitely. There's no doubt about that.
This kind of, I mean, honestly,
if it is getting him out and checking him out of the masjid or out of the school and so on, can be done only by exposing. Exposition is a necessity. No doubt about that. If it's can done, but you usually maybe beginning where it smells like that, just confront them, say, listen, I think you are doing this one now. Listen to me, leave before we scandalize you.
But before Rashid finds out about you and he's going to murder you. Other things also, obviously, following Islamic etiquette. So, for example, if you're teaching children, or say someone's at the age of reasoning, then you can't have khalwa anyway. No. So, if it's public, there's less of a problem. So, you know, just obviously have some. So even Brittany, for example, they have. My wife runs a school, for example. You have to have criminal records checks. You have various safeguarding policies. I know a very good brother who's very, very much involved in a lot of Islamic schooling, and they have excellent checks and balances. One of the schools that my daughter went to, for example, rated highly amongst Ofsted. You know, they have all the various checks and balances.
Excellent.
So, stop. It's basically if you come from a village. You know, just as the same way you don't crap on the streets when you come from, you know, you might do that back home. Come here, then you have to do some kind of adjustment. You go from driving on the right-hand side of the road to the left-hand side of the road. In the same way, you have certain procedures. Don't just operate like you're in your inbred town back home. Upskill, do proper diligence, and assume and make various checks and balances. Because if you have a heavily suppressed society where marriage it becomes more difficult, and you've got these people who have probably become degenerates over time, because it's a degenerate, it's a society has degenerated. Put checks and balances, and
absolutely,
yeah. Sorry, I'm probably overly harsh on this stuff because
no, it's good.
I live in Slough.
No, that's fine. But this is a community has to do that, and just to be clear and especially if you are not in the domain of Islam. If you are in the domain of Islam, then obviously the government has been put under pressure and so on if they fail that. So the question initially said as if it's something happened like Epstein in a Muslim country ruled by Islam, which we don't have now. Like say Afghanistan is somehow close to that. It won't happen in Pakistan, something like that. Despite all backwardness and taqleed and so on, is unlikely. Look at how they manage the issue of addiction.
No, but Afghanistan as a society has other problems.
They have. Let me give you just an example. They have hundreds of thousands and millions of addicts. The American made sure that they will people under either a deliberate policy or just interacting with the American forces who are themselves addicted and in debauchery and things like that. And then without anything negative or something else, they phase them out, train them, clean them, and educated them Islamically in a primitive way, but better than they were before. And they don't have a drug problem, them essentially. It can be managed. Any reasonable government can manage that. In America, it's different because the capitalist system, billionaires control things, considerable control, and all. In that society, you have the precondition ready. Also in England, that if you're above a certain age, then homosexuality and zina and so on and debauchery is permitted. You cannot prevent that from creeping into children, except with some safeguards and so on. And this will never work 100% with these high-ranking guys. But in society, which obviously this is haram, all over the place, and in which, for example, you don't have model, you don't have what Trump did is because he has this model agency at these things that doesn't exist in Islamic domain, cannot exist in the which can do model with bikinis and so on. It's impossible. So many of these things are characteristic in the Middle Ages in Europe. They have only problems with some monasteries because of their bid'ah of monasteries and monks. People, some of the priests and so on cannot satisfy them sexually through their own boys and so on. And some of the nuns also have relation with priests. And if they give birth, they bury the children. And that's because of their own bid'ah. But it's only in the monasteries and so on. There were scandals in the Middle Ages. In the public life, little. Except in the royal palace, because the kings were exempt from that. Like the king of France had absolutely the right to, he sees your wife, say, your wife is nice, send her to me. So they didn't need to an Epstein. The king, you have the divine rights, and if you common people, you don't have even access to these things. People are conservative and hedging. In America, until the First World War, barely any woman goes into marriage which is not virgin. It's a rarity, it's a scandal. After the Second World War in 1948, the Kinsey report that about 48% of women do not go into wedlock until they have lost their virginity. So just 20 years, 25 years was enough to turn the society upside down for 50%. It was a celibate society. That's what the Constitution says. And the people then, whatever who is campaigning, debauchery will come in. if it's regarded as acceptable and part of exercising freedom and legitimate, then you get that. So the question is really, it will not happen like that. It will happen by single persons. It will never become such a network like that. Unless you are in a country which is essentially the ruling system and is a kufr domain, with the majority of Muslims who are just like America, the majority were until very recently Christian, practicing Christian. Until the 60s, more than 60% of the people who go into church, which is the characteristic of being a Christian. Now almost nil, nothing.
Okay. The hiding sins of others doesn't come under this category, yeah? People say you shouldn't publicize because it's exposing the brother's sins.
Yeah, unless it is something affecting other people. If you saw someone is drinking khamr in his house and closed door, or someone committing zina in consent with Abu, that's something else. Then you have to advise him and hide it. Yeah, that's it. But it's very clear what's there. But someone killing someone or harming someone or stealing some money.
You know, honestly, even using the word brother, I feel awkward around, because somebody who's, it's like someone's fiddled a child. I'm not gonna be very forgiving. I'm not gonna give benefit of the doubt. It's not like somebody who's,
that's very clear.
I jumped a red light, or I looked at a girl aura by mistake. Yeah. It's not the same category, is it? This is a person who has molested a child, an 8-year-old.
It's very clear. If a child or someone who is under the age of consent or the age of maturity is definitely is an abuse. That's transgression against someone else. If it is consent of the two and they're hiding it, then it's a sin. You start to by advice, by covering up and so on. That's it.
Two people of adequate.
And someone drinking at home. If he goes on the street drunk and you caught, he will have the had. That's it. But you don't need to expose him. You don't need to go to the police, report him. That's the strongest point too, based on the hadith and so on. Okay, so I think that's it. Using this argument in such cases, obviously not nonsensical, completely nonsensical. Okay, next question.
Somebody's asked to follow on about. You've already answered it, but give me a second. Okay, I'm gonna do an executive thing for the brother who asks. Can you do me a favor? Rather than just having endless questions, just have a think about what questions you want. Ask them at one go, because we're going to be going circular, going around the same thing, and you thought of something else, and you just have a structured thought process. So I'm going to ignore it. If you have anyone, I'm going to call it a day now, inshallah, because there's not many more questions. Let me just check on the live stream.
Okay, inshallah. Okay.
Yeah. So for reference, have a retentive memory. If you have questions, rather than this question, just have them structured beforehand. And if there's anything that requires back and forth, get on the mic, inshallah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. بسم الله. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك استغفرك واتوب اليك. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد كما صليت على ابراهيم وآل ابراهيم في العالمين انك حميد مجيد. بارك على محمد وآل محمد كما باركت على ابراهيم وعلى آل ابراهيم في العالمين انك حميد مجيد. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله.